People can see Jay DaVille over here. Hi, peoples. Welcome.
Hey everybody.
Let me just raise your volume a teensy bit. That should be good. Alrighty, let's get into it. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and welcome to Bridge the Gap. This is the show where we take interesting people such as yourself, Mr. Jay DaVille, and we walk through the story of your lives, and we extract some knowledge nuggets. That's basically the show in a nutshell. But to get us all off a little bit proper, we need to know where Mr. Jay DaVille comes from. So if you can do a little brief introduction here, just kind of drop your name. Most importantly, where you start the early years of your life, and maybe a little synopsis on who you are and what you do, kind of thing.
Yeah, all right. I was born in '91. My parents were from the South Shore, so I unfortunately spent the first 3 years of my life down there in Greenfield Park. Nobody knows that about me. But aside from that, I'm LaSalle through and through. I spent my entire life in LaSalle, from elementary, all the way through high school. And I only moved out of LaSalle just a few years ago at the age of 28, 27.
Awesome.
So yeah, I guess my hip hop journey or whatever begins in the '90s.
Nah, don't even worry about when
my
it
older brother
begins.
Dozy.
We're gonna get
What's
all,
that?
we're gonna do all that part. I just needed to know where you're from a little bit,
Okay.
because that leads into
All
the
right,
first
so yeah,
question.
LaSalle through and through, man.
And then you make the
Yeah,
hip
like I
hop.
moved around LaSalle a lot.
And
What's that?
you make the hip hop music for a while, and then I think you became a chef.
Well, yeah, it started as a dishwasher, 2009.
Amazing.
At that point in my life, at 18 years old, I'd done nothing but sell weed and try to rap
Fair.
badly.
So we're gonna run through this with a lot more detail then and get the ball off proper. Just as good to let them know who you are and where you're from, because I got my first real question. It's a little bit of a doozy. It takes a minute to get through because it's a little bit of a story. And then when it lands, you can answer it, do what you gotta do with the question, and we'll just keep you on course type thing. And it starts with my girlfriend. And she's washing the dishes, and she's got her phone out, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, I got a feeling, ooh. And she's doing her thing, she's dancing, she's washing dishes, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, yo, when the hell did this song become dishes music, right? Because if you think about this track, right, it's kind of like, it's a fun vibe, but now it's the kind of song you would put on when you wash dishes, when you exercise, when you go do some stuff like that. But if you really think about this track, run it back about 10 years, that was the highlight of the club song. Like, when that came on, it was like the moment of the night. Everybody's dancing together, beautiful times. And it was just like universal. I asked the dude in South Africa, same experience. This song is everywhere. Everybody loved it, kind of thing. And then it was the party vibe. It was this whole thing. 10 years later, the song does not change, but somehow it's the exercise music and it's all this shit. And so I realized as we get older, the way we contextualize the music inside of our environments kind of evolves a little bit, which made me realize all these little ones dancing to the Cardi B's and stuff have no idea that this is going to turn out to be some dishes music for them. And then kind of got me like going, wait a second. It's not just that the Cardi B is going to become dishes music. It's that to a certain group of people, it already is the dishes music. And it's that club music becomes dishes music. And that to me was huge. And if songs can evolve and if music can evolve over time like that, it means that like our musical journeys and our whole like life plans and stuff, they're all like kind of like that as well, evolutions. And when we think about our hip hop journeys or all of this stuff, we often go to this adolescent point where whatever happens, we start forming our identities. These things start getting attached to it. But really, that's nowhere near the start of the story. That's not when the story starts. It actually starts like probably back when you were still on the South Shore, as little as you can possibly remember. And what really is going on is that it's not so much the hip hop, it's music. Music is around you. And like, so like I can picture like being 4 or 5 years old. My dad's got these gray boxes, the amp, the tape deck, the radio, the wires is going all around the apartment to the speakers. He's busting Led Zeppelin shits through his fucking tape deck. At nighttime, we got MC Mario's club mixes blasting off the radio from wherever he's at. My mom's into discos and musicals and things like that. At Christmas time, I remember it was like just the one day we would bust out the EDM Christmas song remix album and bust that shit out. That was it one day a year. All I'm trying to say is when we really think about music, while we do start it later off, it really comes all the way back to like our earliest memories of music, and often before we had any control over the music in our life. So I was hoping you could run us back to the youngest Jay DaVille you can remember, and a little bit of what it was like, sounded like to be you, but not in the context of you starting to be a rapper. No. I just want to know what it sounded like to be you, your parents, what they was into, and all that shit.
Music in general is what you mean.
Yeah, like how your parents bumped it, brother, all this shit.
That's easy, bro. That's easy. Both my parents are from, the boomer era. They were both born in 55, so they were raised in the 60s, early 70s. So that was the music, that was the first music I was exposed to, really. The first bands I remember really knowing are like the Beatles, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I mean, to a lesser extent, the music of the time too, like the mid '90s, the Backstreet Boys, the Spice Girls, all that, whatever. But that's just because the music of the time, that was whatever. But my first passion for music developed with classic rock. I actually started listening to those records of my own volition at like 7 years old.
Straight
memorizing the lyrics. Yeah. So I have like a really long history with a lot of bands like that. CCR I still listen to this day.
Okay, so what leads a 7-year-old Jay DaVille to like being like, fuck that, I'm gonna get into classic rock now? Like, how do you get to that transition of starting to care?
It's my parents, right? My parents would, my parents were drinkers, which caused them to speak a lot, so to speak. And they'd be like, oh, you got to sit down and listen to this. You got to sit down. My mom, too, would be like, oh, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. And so it was really my parents drilled it in my head. But, I mean, I don't know. It spoke to me to some degree. You know what I mean?
So your parents would, like, force you to, like, go listen to music?
Like, not force me, but they would play it a lot, obviously.
That's dope.
And I remember I would sit down with my dad, and my dad would be like, oh, have you ever heard of this? Well, let me tell you about that. Get all, get all like a professor about it kind of thing. He starts just going on and on about, anyway, just drilling the shit into my head, because he was like a music nerd, but only for his time. Anything after 1975, my dad won't even listen to. You know what I mean? But like, I loved it though. I mean, like that music. I remember falling in love with 10 years after, falling in love with Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, a lot of like 70s, even 60s, like 60s, like folk rock, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. You know what I mean? Like real hippie shit. I've always liked it, but it's like that wasn't part of my identity, I guess.
Nah, that's usually how it is.
Music the same way. It's just part of my my early days of understanding music and appreciating music and all that. But yeah, I didn't discover hip hop really, or fall in love with hip hop rather, until I was about 10.
But like what I understand from what we've got is your dad is a big music nerd, drilled in information into you. Your parents was constantly shoving music down your throat. So around 7, you decide, I'm gonna get into classic rock. And then you're just kind of bumping what your parents have because it sounds good. You're a curious beaver. And then somewhere around the age of 10, you discover hip hop.
Yeah, because basically, like that's all that we had laying around the house, man. That's all we had laying around the house was like I said, Beatles and Creedence and shit like that. So I'd have a lot of time to myself. I was kind of a loner as a kid, so I'd spend a lot of time just listening to whatever records I could find lying around the house. I mean, even it's kind of funny, Jewel. Remember Jewel in the 90s? My mom had a copy of her album.
To be fair, it's a good album. Yo, what up, Rico? Blocks.
But flash forward a little bit later. What up, Rico?
Yeah.
So you flash forward a little bit later. My older brother.
Before we flash forward, I gotta ask a question.
People know my brother Dozy.
Before we flash forward.
Go ahead.
While you're young, do you have like other hobbies and passions you're up to? Like, are you into drawing, sports, that kind of stuff?
At that age?
Yeah.
Not really.
Fair enough.
I mean, I tried to play certain sports. I played with soccer a little bit. I played like Little League baseball a little bit, but I was never super into sports. I tried drawing. I've never been good at it. I've actually fucked around with graffiti since I was very young too, but I've never been super great at it either.
That's fair. All right, so how did those
No, as a kid, man, it was just a lot of
So I was like, yeah, so it's just a bunch of music. You know, sometimes people have answers you ask. If not, we just keep moving on. And yeah, so how did Dozy get you into hip hop?
Well, on his side, it's like, because we're half brothers, so he grew up with his dad a lot. And he had the opportunity to, like, he was part of that later 90s culture where you can make mixtapes out of like the cassette tapes and shit. So he would do that a lot. I'm actually surprised he didn't become a DJ, because he's one of the few people I know who's got the most in-depth music knowledge and is not a musician himself. So he would make these tapes and burn CDs like crazy. And I would end up getting a bunch of them. I remember my 12th birthday, you would come through with, like, here's a mixtape I made for you. And that's the first time I heard Clips, and that's the first time I heard Dipset. That's the first time I heard, fuck, man, what else was on that? I mean, like, just anyway. And again, like I said, as a kid, I wasn't a very social kid, so I would sit around and just listen to records on repeat and shit, you know what I mean? And the hip hop thing, I don't know, just growing up watching Rap City, I remember Triumph being a new video on MTV or Rap City or whatever the case, being extremely young, watching that on TV,
So
I'm never really falling into it until about, yeah, when I could, we didn't have cable very often, but when we did, I remember I get to watch like some of the earliest rap videos I remember seeing, or like I said, Triumph, Give Me Some Mo by Busta. Funky, those weird late 90s videos,
It was a vibe.
I don't know. Eventually you gotta follow. Hey?
Yeah, the late 90s is the strangest time for music videos because no one had determined that they don't make money like we know now. So the budgets were fucking insane. Like, nobody will ever get like music video budgets like they were getting in the late 90s again, just on some, they know what they can pull off of those videos now. Did you hear that? Or did it cut?
Weird back then too. Like, especially rap videos, how strange they were. And I don't know, fuck, man, I go back, I watch them with nostalgia now, because
yeah, no, they're a whole vibe. I mean, rap
that takes me back.
I find videos now are just kind of like simpler. I mean, some people do some crazy interesting stuff, like some people really do, but I find most people, like, as a person who doesn't like to gamble on things, I don't feel it's worth it to check out most people's music videos unless I get word of mouth recommendations ahead of time that it's actually dope. Like, that's where I'm at with music videos now. But you're still growing up in that culture there, watching that, and then you're getting into this mixtape vibe because your brother. At what point are you like, yo, I really want to start doing this rap thing?
So that would be him too. Him and his buddies used to freestyle. They'd come around and I watched them do it, and I'm like 11. And, I'm an impressionable kid, and I want to be like my older brother, you know what I mean? His cool buddies and shit that all smoke weed and all this. And they're the ones, it was mostly my brother, but him and his buddies who ended up becoming TNT, Dumar Brown and Chase Dog and guys like that, would be like, oh, come on, little guy, try to rap with us, Obviously, I sucked, but they encouraged me. Yeah, my brother would come and he'd see me writing down, like, I used to, like, copy textbooks full of fucking people's lyrics, Tupac and Immortal Technique and people who I thought had really powerful lyrics. And he would catch me writing these things and telling me, like, you should just write your own shit, bro. And I was like, what does, like, 12-year-old little Jay have to write about that could be expressed through hip-hop music, So it took a very long time, just like all of us, took a very long time to, like, find the appropriate subjects and how to write, how to put cadence together, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, although I wasn't very good for a very long time, as a kid, it was still like, it was very fun to me.
I mean, I think it's pretty nifty that you would write out lyrics at like 12 years old like that. I mean, I was just thinking about it because I remember like being at Wager, and because I didn't have the shit at home, using the printer to like print out the lyrics at that time. That was my whole shtick. I used to run it through the school, and I would just get stacks of fucking lyric papers. I never actually had to do the writing thing. But fuck, that's a level of dedication to actually put in. Like, you must remember bars after fucking handwriting out a bunch of lyrics like that.
Oh yeah, dude. Still to this day, every time I write a new 16, I sit there and I recite it over and over, and then I put the shit down and I recite it over and over, and then it's like I can just pick it up anytime, as long as I remember the first bar. The rest kind of just fall in place.
Definitely wise. So you're basically doing this as like an early teenager. Then you're getting into the starting to write your own rhymes, or are you still like copying?
Yeah, I'd say I wrote my first verses at like 12. And I actually still remember some of the bars. I will not tell anybody the bars, obviously.
It's no fun. You can tell us. We want to hear it.
But like, no, I could vaguely remember some of them, you know what I mean? And being like, I was trying, you know? And I was listening to like a lot of really street shit. I didn't find this nerdy rap shit that I listen to now, like Aesop and shit, till later in my life. I grew up listening to like Mobb Deep and Nas and like the the mid '90s New York shit, really grimy, dark sound. You know what I mean? So it took a long time for me to take that and make it my own kind of thing, because obviously I'm not living the same reality, so I can't portray the same kind of, you know what I mean? I'm not living the same reality, so I can't I make exactly the same kind of music that these guys were making, but I wanted to make something that sounded like it because I love that sound so much. Still to this day, if I'm in a cypher and just a piano loop kind of beat comes on, like drop a gem on them or something, and I'll just go stupid. Like I love that shit. One thing I realized about myself around that age, and is still true to this day, is that I like dark music. Sure, that happy sunshine kind of fun loving music is super fun and a lot of it's great, but I find that with me personally, darker hip hop always resonated with me. It started, I guess, with like Tupac and his like deeper songs, My Only Fear of Death, shit like that. Later falling into things like Immortal Technique and Jedi Mind Tricks, you know what I mean? Like the really darker hardcore hip hop.
Fair enough. So with that, you're trying to like discover your identity over high school. You're kind of like running it through. At what point do you like actually get like are you also, I guess at this point, like performing or freestyling with the peoples, and kind of like, is it more of a isolated thing, or are you kind of working with your brother squad at this point?
Do around the way.
Sorry?
It's something you would do on the block kind of thing. It's something you do around the way. You know what I mean? You just do it for fun and shit like that. Once in a while, I would try to get like primitive MP3 players or like my old fucking 98 desktop rather. Try to like put the speakers next to this shitty little microphone and then record like that. You know what I mean? Actually, as far back as 2005, I fucking threw that computer away, unfortunately. But in 2005, there was a weekend or an entire week where Chase, Doom, and a bunch of those Heights dudes they were spending a couple days at my mom's house. She was away for the week or something. So we were doing like, these guys were about 18, 19, 20, 21, something like that. I'm about 14, 2005, I'm 14. And we spent days actually recording the shittiest tracks on like the earliest beats from Stu Gatz. Some of the first beats he ever made, some of the first beats Sky Beats ever made. And it's me, Dumar, and Chase, and my brother, and we're just fucking around. And some of it was good, clever, fun, you know, but ultimately it's not something we would release into the populace. It was something that we just were fucking around with. We were young, and I think that's my earliest account of actually trying to make music.
You know, it's weird, and this is just weird to me. It might not be weird to you. A lot of people say to me, like, I would never release that today. And I'm like, bro, you put up a Patreon and you say for $20 a month you get to hear a track of these a month, bro, you're fucking rich. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at in the world. People actually really want to hear that kind of, not because it's like to laugh at it. It's weird. People just got like really into, I want to hear the 16-year-old cuts of the people I like in their 30s. I'm like, people just really dig that shit like trivia.
Yeah, but you know, you're setting yourself up for disappointment a lot, though, because you're just listening to a bunch of drunk kids yell into a fucking microphone that was built in '93 or whatever.
Yeah, no, I want to hear that. I mean, but like, I don't want to hear that like I'm trying to vibe to a smashing tune. I want to hear that like a time capsule of being just for young. Because most of us who really do that are actually just thinking back to us being 15, living kind of through your rhymes. So it's got like a lot of value for a lot of people beyond, say, what one would think. I think that's what
yeah. So for those that know about it, friends of mine from the neighborhood and shit, under a different alias, if you dig for it on the internet, under the name Jayster, Jayster, that's me. And even some of the beats were mine. It is terrible. But,
oh shit, you used to make beats too? Because
you went show it too.
Say again?
Yeah. Terribly. But yeah, you went show it too though. The Reverb Nation shit, since you're kind of into that.
I'm just saying, anybody who wants to find it will find it. Because you can find Jayster from your SoundCloud, and then that's traceable to your name, so the whole rabbit trail is available to anyone who really wants to dig. And people don't know to go check that's Reverb true. Nation. Nobody deleted shit from Reverb Nations. The facts are Reverb Nations. Trust. Everybody's Reverb Nation.
That's what all this 2007, 2008 material is still just laying around there.
It was so good. Back when the Reverb Nation charts used to matter.
Yeah.
Number 7 rapper in Verdun.
Yeah,
But like, so how did you get into beat making? Tell us a bit about that too, because that's fucking nifty, even if it wasn't a huge success.
Shit, yeah. I mean, I actually just re-downloaded a Fruity Loops thing just to fuck around with it because it's fun. But I don't have anyways. I guess it starts with sitting down with Sky, because Sky Beats, shout out Sky Beats, I fucking love that dude.
Sky Beats, he's amazing.
His little brother is one of my best friends.
Okay.
So we all grew up together. We're all from LaSalle. And his little brother Winfield, shout out Winfield. He's been one of my best friends since like very, very young. And Sky, his brother, Dozer, my brother, they would all chill together. So we would all click up together, eventually. I guess at about 16, grade 10-ish, I sat down with Sky at his crib and he showed me Fruity Loops for the first time ever. And I was like, this is so fucking cool, And eventually, when I got my first laptop at 17, I downloaded a cracked version of Fruity Loops, and I just started fucking around with it. And then I had Stuart Gatz. I had Stewie Gatz and Skybeats sending me like VSTs and plugins to fuck around with to see what I could do. So I did make several dozen beats in my life.
That's serious.
Most of them not very good.
I made one on Fruity Loops, and it's on Spotify because I said, fuck, I'm going to put out all the old shit.
Yeah. Maybe one day I'll have the stones to put out all that.
You know what happened, though? I fucking swear, because Ismail just commented. I put out the old shit, and Ismail fucking's like, I like this better than everything you've done since. And I'm like, say what? It's not really what you want to hear, but then it made me realize, I mean, hey, it's fucking nifty that my 2009 bullshit beat is appealing to somebody, right? Like, that's fucking a mind trip. So you just realize you never know what anybody's into, and everybody's listening to shit on an iPhone 6 anyway. When I say everybody, I mean big stats. You're more likely to have somebody on a shitty phone speaker hearing your music than any other kind of device. So
yeah, most likely.
Maybe it's the way I use my voice. Fair enough. I had a shittier voice back then. Everyone hated it. Everyone used to criticize my voice for being flat and monotone. And then I was like, that's not my favorite. Yeah, it's flat and monotone right now. I realize the irony in that statement. But
you progress with it. That's what we do.
Yeah. It's
you can't sound the exact same now as you did 10 years ago, right?
I don't even think it's possible. I literally can't fake the voice I used to have. Like, I used to smoke cigarettes, part of it, like that that hits your voice. So since I stopped tobacco, the whole register of my voice went up. It's like higher pitch than it used to be. So I'd literally have to go into like cigarette smoking in abundance to hit the kind of ranges I was in back when I was like fucking smoking cigarettes. So like, it'll never sound like that because she'll fucking kill me if I start smoking cigarettes. Nah, for real. I'll smoke like a cig here and there, and bro, like for 2 days, I'm like, oh, I don't have the same control on my voice I want. It's fucking crazy the impact it has. Anyway, back to you. You're basically in high school then clicking up with people who would go on to do fucking big things in the city. Like, on the real, Sky Beats is not a small name. And honestly, Gats is sending me beats for my ciphers. So like, shout out Gats. Honestly, like, so be back in the day, clicking up with these people who will go on to work with all these people.
He's an old friend. He's a really good dude, an amazing producer. He's been doing big things since we were young.
Yeah, and he's like still at it, like to this day. So you're basically clicking up with a bunch of people, and y'all may not notice, but they like in 20 like. I start rapping in 2012, and the TNT folk are fucking powerhouses and shit. I would call them powerhouses in the little corner I was involved in. How powerhouse they were, I don't fucking know. I was just there, and I just knew them as people that were doing things. So this was my little perception. Doesn't matter what the truth is. This is my memories.
Okay.
And they're running it, and they connected, and they're doing things. And with all the people that were like involved, they just knew everybody that was. It was just like weird to like. I mean, not weird in a bad way, but like, wow, look at these people. So they're literally, to me, one of the first names I even encountered when I got in. That was like an organized group of people doing shit. I was the first one I encountered in Montreal. So for me, it's just fucking fascinating. And then like Sky Beats is just there, and he's such a powerful force of like, that guy's name came up a lot on this channel. More than a lot of other people, like to a point where like he really should be talked about more with the love that he is given to like the city.
Oh, absolutely. And like, man, really big love to Sky, because like he was like one of the only people that wanted to put a young me on. Like, hip hop is my life. That's all him. The video included, the beat, the recording, and most of that project here. I've actually got this is kind of funny. If we're going to talk about throwbacks,
we should
very, very quickly. This isn't here. Never mind.
Don't even worry about it.
Anyways, so my whole first project that I actually did as Jay DaVille, that's all Sky. Sky did all the fucking the everything for it, man. And he's gone on to like you said, he's a force to be reckoned with, you know. And I've been like friends with him and actually working with him. He's been trying to put me on since 2007, like, you know. So shout out to that dude. I fucking love that guy. He's one of the best.
Yeah. And I just think it's cool that like you're back there kind of like in the environment where these dudes are just starting to get all started, and that's your like early inspiration for like what happened with it. So how does it migrate though from like you're just kind of, you know, hanging out with the dudes and you're just making music on bad computers and stuff to like the point where you're like, I'm gonna go ahead and actually make some music with this shit?
Well, like I said, when I first got my laptop, just finishing high school, that's when I was like, okay, now I have the means to actually try to put some recordings together. For the first couple of years, I mean, I'm even using the little built-in microphone on the top of the screen, you know what I mean? And I'm using Fruity Loops to make shitty beats, and using Cool Edit Pro to record. And I just experimented with that a whole lot. I'd spend sleepless nights, you know, just finishing high school. I didn't go straight into college or anything, so for a very long time, I had a lot of time to just sit around, smoke weed, and fucking make music to the best of my abilities, anyways. But and I got to work with guys like Sky and Doom and shit like that. And then Doom was coming to my house a lot because he was an extremely talented rapper from the block and all that. And we started putting together our first little tracks. We would sit together, we would write a couple of verses, drink some beers, whatever. And that turned into, I mean, when Gats and Peter West, shout out Peter West, they put together their first beats, and they started TNT, Top Notch Tracks. Yeah, man, absolutely love that dude. So that's how Top Notch Tracks started. Actually, it was a production company that was just Peter West and Stu Gats. But then we started making tracks together, and they decided, fuck it, we're going to turn this into like an actual music group. Not exactly a label, not exactly a production company, not exactly a rap group, but like a music group in general, I guess. And so the original roster was those two, Stu Gats, Peter West, then it was Dumar Brown, Chase Dog, myself, and Tech Luciano. Shout out Tech Luciano, came onto the crew like a year later. Then my boy Luis, Lucho Freeze, shout out Lucho Freeze, Lou Vaughn, GGP. We had a nice little collective for a little while.
Yeah, that's kind of a big thing when you're like a young person. Well, I was not young. I was 25 when I started. So young in relative to the game. You come in, you don't know shit about fucking
Young
shit.
still.
But you don't know
Young
shit
still.
about shit,
Yeah.
and you're like, yo, these guys look like they're doing things. I remember Dumar Brown's birthday contest is a big moment in my life.
I organized that show. That was the first thing I ever did.
For real?
In terms of, yeah, well, I was doing it as a birthday present to him, kind of thing, you know. Doom was like a big brother to me for a very long time. Before he quit music and got married and moved out to the boonies to, you know, be a father and a husband, we spent a lot of time together. So, yeah, I miss that guy.
So basically, what's also interesting is how you didn't let the lack of proper gear get in the way of you pursuing the creation of songs. I think that's super important. I've noticed a lot of people block themselves as fully grown adults with this like notion of I can't achieve X, Y, Z fucking quality, so therefore I shan't do things. And so I find it super nifty how like at that age we just don't give a fuck about any of that shit. We're just more interested in like the process, and we trust the process, and we just figure whatever it is, what it is, it'll get
and
better.
especially and especially at that age, I liked music that sounded imperfect, that sounded like it was recorded badly, you know, because it was more genuine, it was a bit more, you know, it was like I said, like it just had more of an authentic feel to it. Like it wasn't something that was edited down to you know, a commercial song in post production or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just something that just that was just something that happened right there in the moment, you know what I mean? Like we were saying before with that you listen to that and you really hear that authenticity. I really wanted my music to sound grimy to a degree. I would tell engineers not to edit my shit too much, you know what I mean? They'd be like, well, what if I did this and what if I did that? And I'd be like, nah, man, keep it raw, you know? Now it's different. I would like to make music that sounds a bit more, you know, a bit more professional. But especially at that age, man, I just wanted music that sounded like, because I fell into, this is another thing that I was going to bring up earlier about my musical journey and all the shit. I fell into punk rock extremely hard, and that's never, ever stopped. And that's very apparent in the music I make and the clothes I wear and the way I see the world and shit. So I've been really influenced a lot by the punk rock I listen to in terms of the music that I make, in terms of the hip hop I make as well.
Yeah, I relate to that. Actually, kind of heavy. I wasn't necessarily into all the old super underground Grammy punk, but I got into like alt punk heavy in fucking high school and shit, and it's always been like a huge influence. But the one thing I always felt was cool about punk is like when they met sound engineers proper and then they met music producers proper, like whatever came next it just wasn't the same again. So that's something that always really stuck for me from my journey through punk is like you can see the moment in their discography when they get signed to a certain degree and how producers step into the equation. And I always thought that was nifty how drastically it fucks with the sound. Like a band like Anti-Flag is a perfect fucking example of it. Right?
And even if you look at like Bad Religion, for example, bro, like their members have been the ones that have produced their music and engineered their music and all that shit. Can't remember his name, but the guy that started Epitaph was one of the original members of Bad Religion. And it was Epitaph that put on bands like NoFX, that started groups like Fat Record, put on bands like Anti-Flag. There's a whole, like, you know, before this. But when punk rock, I mean, like, what I was trying to get at, really what I'm trying to get at is the DIY attitude of punk rock and the beauty and the imperfection in punk rock that I've always enjoyed in music, you know what I mean? Just like you said, I mean, like when you listen to when bands' earlier music before they had, like, let's say listen to Bad Religion's first album, How Could Hell Be Any Worse? It sounds terrible, but a few years later, once they put some effort into their production properly, you listen to Suffer, and it's only maybe 8 years later that it sounds so much clearer, you know. Same with NoFX, I guess. You listen to NoFX's earliest music and it's terrible. Much later, they actually were being produced by good punk rock producers.
Or you can compare like Smash
but that's
Offspring to like Americana.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking Nirvana, man. Listen to Nirvana's first album. That shit is ridiculous. And then you wouldn't recognize it. You know what I mean? If you ever listen to Bleach, it is intense. And then you listen to In Utero, and well, I mean, like the singles that they're known for.
Yeah, they're kind of tame.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of whole spirit and attitude coming into it, which honestly goes to validate that your like cuts from back in the day probably still have a market, because 17-year-olds are still going to be 17-year-olds. People are still loving that shit to this day, is what I understand about the internet, bro.
Yeah.
That's the Instagram, TikTok market. If there ever was it just manifested into that shit. But like,
yeah, true.
With that, so you get into this early thing, and you're kind of surrounded by the TNT people, and you get, when do you like actually like get involved in that and start like, do you move into performing a lot? Because I know you had a reputation when I started, and people really fucked with you for like at that point, and like you were known as like this political intense rapper that spit hard truths and shit and blah blah blah. That's how I heard about you back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was true of me. I guess it still is.
So how did you like, do you remember like your first show opportunity and when it like, how that came to be?
Yeah, so my first show, I was going to say it was Stavros Adamopoulos, who at the time went as the one.
That guy's still making moves
yeah,
now.
so he goes by, I know. He goes by Rico Blanco right now, so shout out Rico Blanco. Shout out Stavros, I fucking love that dude. He was putting together a show where he was tasked with hiring acts for the show, and he had heard not just Hip Hop Is My Life, but like my earlier stuff too, that was like much more politically geared that I was doing. And he was like, yeah, come do the show. I'd never ever performed before, so I was actually at Mika Lounge at the bottom of Crescent. I don't know if you've ever been to the Mika Lounge.
I know of it. I don't really remember if I went.
It was a little basement spot underneath the massage parlor, so it wasn't a very glamorous spot. Anyway, so yeah, I must have been March 2012. At that point, I mean, like, I'd been to a lot of shows, but I had never actually performed properly my own set at that point. So I got up, I think I did 3 tracks. I think I did Hip Hop Is My Life, and I know we both did a song called Little Jimmy, but yeah, I did my song called Little Jimmy at the time. And one other track, I don't even remember. But yeah, and that one show sparked a whole bunch of like, oh, we'll get you on this show, we'll get you on that show kind of thing. Interesting side note, that same year, actually just a few months later, Stavros again, along with his group at the time, PXC, Park Extension Connection. So that would be with Soldiers and Seven Leaf. Shout out Soldiers and Seven Leaf. They were doing a show in New York, 2 shows in fact, in New York with Block McCloud. And they asked me to come along as like an affiliated act kind of thing. No, we weren't getting paid for it, but it would just be a cool weekend to spend in New York doing a couple of shows in Brooklyn and Staten Island with guys who've done songs with like Jedi Mind Tricks and people I grew up listening to. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that, you know?
Yeah, it's dope stills. I remember hearing
that was fun
from him. He told us a bit about that. So it's cool like when you hear somebody else like go about it. What happened in New York? Tell us a bit about going down to New York as a young person that just started rapping.
Oh, it was super chill. I mean, like, I barely ever left the house, you know what I mean, at that point in my life. So going straight to New York with a bunch of friends, kind of on a whim, like, it was fucking cool, man. You actually, like, we stayed in Park Slope in Brooklyn, South Brooklyn. We got to see a lot of Brooklyn, though. And our first show, the second night was in, like, Coney Island, kind of, like, right next to Coney Island, in, like, South Brooklyn. And that was fucking cool, man. Like, I don't know. I don't have very many, like, very vivid memories from that because I'm a very large cannabis smoker. But, yeah, man, that was wild. That was just super fun. We were 4 dudes in, like, a tiny little room that we rented in South Brooklyn, and fucking 2 of us sleeping on the floor and shit. You know, it was really chill, though. It was really chill. Fucking the first night, our first night there, where I was in Staten Island, and what's his name? Y'all would probably know Shaheem from like the early days of Wu-Tang. There was a little kid that came on. You know what I'm talking about? There's like the footage with Biggie and Tupac, and then there's a little kid that gets up and he goes, "Times are getting hard. Word is bond. I swear to God."
That's dope.
Yeah. So he shows up, but he's a grown ass man at this point, obviously. Anyway, yeah, it was just it's like a, I don't know. It was really cool. It was really cool.
I mean, it's always dope to be able to be in a position where you can run into somebody you think's fucking cool. Like, I met the Habs once, and it was really exciting. It wasn't like I met them in a cool way, but it was like cool because you met them and they signed some fucking card in my face and shit. And then I did not take good care of those, and I was like, that was stupid of me. So you basically
get to meet a lot of. Did you ever get to meet a lot of rappers and shit?
Not really. I didn't
like any.
Like, no. I mean, in like famous people over time, I met Locksmith once, and he's extremely fucking tall. But other than that,
that's cool.
I guess I got to do an interview with K Reno, which was kind of dope if you know who K Reno is. But otherwise, it's like, nah. I've had some interactions with people on social media because of like the review thing.
That's cool.
So like Dead Prez watched me talking about them, which was like, are you fucking kidding me? Stick watched my 3-hour review. Like, but like, people.
That's really good.
I didn't go to a lot of shows and shit, so I didn't really. Even like when I got into the game, my biggest mistake was not necessarily getting so involved in the live community because I had a job and I valued going to work more than I valued going to parties. So I didn't really integrate into that whole universe for a really long time. And it wasn't until like right before COVID, but I'm like, Urban Logics was giving me like this speech about how Fat Joe would go to everybody's show, and even if he hated their music. But then when Fat Joe would throw a show, the entire world would come because Fat Joe was just known to be that guy. And he would bring friends and shit. And I'm like, I fucked up this whole
internet working.
So I started going to shows, then COVID came. And it is what it is. But like,
I mean, I remember catching you at a few shows. I mean, between 2012.
Oh, I would go to anything they offered me to perform at. You're saying I could perform on there. It's like, but if I'm not performing, I was in this really like, well, if I'm not performing, why am I going to this shit? I think like Clarity's one of the only people I bothered to go at that time if I wasn't at the set for.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the
always been a great performer.
Like I saw the flyer for the last Murderface show that ever happened, and I just remember choosing not to go on some lazy shit. Like there's never good reasons. And then now all this time later, I'm like, I probably should have gone to that shit. Met Cool Man Logan back then,
Yeah, absolutely.
But
man, that was another thing was Gats was putting me on to local music, like that's how I first started about CL. Like going back to what we were saying before, I mean, like me falling in love with doing shows and performing and stuff. You know how many times you go to a show and you watch dudes rap over their own vocals, stare at the floor, walk back and forth. You can smell the social anxiety off of them. You can smell how shy they are. You can see how shy they are. It's like extremely obvious. And it's not entertaining. You know what I mean? It's self-indulging and it's masturbatory in a sense. You know what I mean? So, oh my God, like just like you said, I want to be that person. You know what I mean? I think we all started rapping over our own vocals and stuff like that. But I mean,
but again, that was also because
from your first show, even
my first show is on YouTube. So that performance is there, June 2nd, 2012. But the thing is,
and it was all instrument.
Yeah, but keep in mind, I'm fully employed.
Respect, though.
But I'm fully employed at this time. I've been gainfully employed full time plus for like years at this point, right? Which matters. I'm able to like buy beats, I guess, shitty cheap $30 beats. Stills. I was like at this point where like it wasn't. I feel like it's not the same in your mid-20s when like half the other people are like starting at like 18 and shit. Like it's a weird comparison to make, but I never did the back vocals. I never did it one time.
Respect. I mean, like I feel like that's just a safety. I feel like it's just a safety net for a lot of people. You know what I mean? But at a certain point, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good, and it's fucking boring to watch. And like.
I'm with you.
When you think about it, man, all these shows that we do, you know what I mean, and these little showcases that we've been like repeatedly doing that don't make very much money, even when they do make the artist money or make the house money or make the organizer money, it's not always much. We're talking a couple $100 each, maybe. Why are we doing this? You know what I mean? It's got to be fun. You got to be doing it for the community. You got to be doing it because it's fun and you're enjoying it and your fans are enjoying it and they'll pay to see it again. They're paying money, you know what I mean? We pay $10-15 to get into these shows, and it sucks to pay $10-15 for 6 hours to stand around watching guys basically masturbate on stage, you know?
Bro, I mean, I know what you're talking about, so I don't want to pretend like it doesn't exist. All I can tell you.
Well, that's why I wanted to be I wanted to be ahead of that. Bro, I never wanted to be doing those two things.
I just want to say, I went to 2 all-girl shows prior to COVID. It was the only 2 shows I went to where that never happened one time. They were all ready to go every fucking word.
Nice.
I'd never seen that before. But it was the only 2 times I ever saw it was 2 all-lady MC fucking shows in Montreal. Just throwing it out there for the sake of throwing it out there. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. I remember I impressed Tech Luciano because I didn't have hype men on stage with me. That was what he was like. You were by yourself. I respect that.
Yeah, I've never had a hype man either. So it's exhausting on the lungs. Especially you're a fast rapper too in a lot of tracks. And it takes a lot of breath control. Especially as a pot smoker.
Oh, no.
To like not fuck up ever.
I learned, like I said, it's a virtue of practice. I used to put a lot of time into that shit. Now I'm like, I don't know how to memorize my songs anymore. It's more where I'm at. And that's not a virtue of weed. It's a virtue of volume. Yo, when you have 7 songs, it is fucking easy to remember 7 songs. When you have over 100, it's like, bro, I have to go remember the ones I gotta do live, not the ones, and then there's the ones you just, it gets messier as you get longer into it. But like, I just practice the shit out of every fucking performance, man. I used to run my sets like, yo, for hip hop karaoke too, all this shit I would do, it would be like hours. Like, I remember I did 15 hours for Rap God at Just for Laughs. 15 hours on Rap God. Okay, like that's the level of practice I used to like put in for any performance, so that I did fuck up here and there if I drank or I got too cocky here and there. Like I would drop a 4 bar or whatever, but mostly I was able to get through it without backtracks and just remembering it.
That's good, man. Respect, because like you said, it's not easy, and that's something that you end up getting revered for, or at least you commended for, anyways. That you're able to get up there, no hate man, no backtracks, no, like I said, safety net. You know what I mean? It's just your beat, and you have to execute it properly. I feel like if you're going to be a serious musician, you have to be able to do that. You have to make your music sound good on the spot. Otherwise, like, you know what I mean? You can listen to bands. Or
there's an exception to that rule, and that is Waka Flocka Flame. I would pay money to go see Waka Flocka not rap at me. I don't know, but like he's just gonna be lit on stage, being the world's most hype up the crowd, fucking fun guy. Where like, do you really need Waka to spit those bars, or do you just want to party with Waka at the end of the day?
What I mean is, so obviously there's different genres, not genres, but I guess different calibers or different styles of musicians, right? You know what I mean? You have your meeker musicians, you have your wilder musicians, you have your in-betweens, etc., right? Waka's obviously one of those people that sits in a category of like a very hype live act. You don't listen to Waka Flocka's music for its content for the most part. You know what I mean? You're listening to it because it's fucking hype. Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you that.
So that's you know what I mean? But if you're going to be a lyricist and you want to be like a rapper, musician, someone who makes dope fucking music, like you have to be able to rap just you and your beat and make it fucking dope. Like even Flocka, if you just took one of his instrumentals and you got him with a microphone with no,
he'd hold it down though. Don't even get me wrong. That guy can fucking rap.
Of course, it would still be hype because he knows what he's doing. He's a master of his style.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Like his delivery is top notch. So I don't want to take away from
that. Became important to me. That's what happened to me. Was that became much more important than having tracks that sounded good, or having videos, or having views on YouTube or listens on SoundCloud and shit like that. I didn't care about that. What I cared about was that in the moment, I can come with it and I could shut shows down. And that's what I focused on for so many years. And unfortunately, I didn't make much music. Well, back then I was making more music. Back in like 14, 15, I was still writing a lot of tracks and trying to make new songs and stuff like that. Even up to a few years ago, I still like, if you come and see my shows, that's where you're going to hear my new music. I'll have people ask me like, yo, dude, you know that song, blah, blah, blah. Where can I find that? I'm like, I've never even recorded that song, bro. You know what I mean? Or I don't have a proper recording of it, at least. But it's like a 7-year-old track that I wrote in 2014, and I've been performing it since like those Roddy Squad days. You know what I mean?
Fuck, Roddy Squad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that's a whole other chapter of Jay DaVille that we haven't touched yet.
No, we haven't. But what's cool is I know what that means. Like, I saw you were on the Roddy Squad cipher when I did look you up, and I'm like, fair enough. And then I just sat there for like 10 minutes remembering those guys, and I don't even know what they're up to these days. Isn't they go to the Brotherhood or something? They flipped it up into something else, or I don't know.
Well, those were dudes from Laval that two of them were tight, and anyway, they all kind of knew each other, and they started their group, and they heard me. We did a couple shows together. And TNT was kind of like ending around that time. All those dudes were hitting their 30s and kind of moving on to different things in their lives, or otherwise doing bigger things with their music, like Gats, for example. Anyway, TNT kind of fell apart after Doom and me, and we all kind of went different ways or whatever. It was no hate or anything. There was zero animosity. It's still like I fucking love those guys like brothers still. But anyways, there was around that time, Roddy Squad was like, hey, man, come and fucking work with us. We'll give you free beats, free recording time. We'll do shows. We'll do all this. They just wanted me to be part of their roster. So I said, fuck it. Why not? So that led to like another 18 months or something, almost 2 years of doing a lot of shows with those guys.
Yeah, I remember that era because that was when I was like the end of my performing run. When I decided I was going to go to work. I don't know how else to put it, but I thought the internet was a better move. Let's just say what you said about the showcases. I had similar feelings about in 2016, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to. You know what really was? They changed it from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. It became normal to do 10-minute sets, and I couldn't do shit with 10 minutes. I was like, nobody's coming to my fucking anything for 10 minutes. But they were coming for 15, so somewhere it just changed, and I don't know when it changed. I just know that one day I realized nobody was doing 15-minute sets anymore, and that was...
Depends whose show.
I'm saying
it depends who the organizer is and shit.
I couldn't find anything with 15-minute sets by like 2016. Not that but at that point I'm a little jaded too. But like I just didn't see it.
Since 2017, have you heard of Common Ground? Something else. It's another project I've been part of.
So
Common Ground is a showcase with. Right?
As of like 2016, at the end of the year, I start behind that suit, and I spend about 4 years being an internet hermit, learning all this shit that leads me to this moment. So from that patch, fucking hip hop karaoke is basically about the only thing that got me out of the house.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm a host of. I mean, we haven't done a showcase since 2019 there because of COVID and all that, but Common Ground is a showcase of which I'm the host. The first one of which was in early 2017. It was organized and still is organized by Christina Elena on Facebook. Shout out Christina. She's just a big avid hip hop fan and university student who started putting together these shows. And the first of which she just kind of slapped together. She didn't really know anyone. You had DJ Shirtless of K6A as the DJ, and they didn't really have a host or anything, but anyways, Aspect Mendoza was there, Katir Rampar was there. There was a bunch of just like really dope acts, just like random little dope acts. Lucho Freeze, who was part of TNT at the time, was on, and he invited me, so I got to do my own thing and whatever. I got a really good response as per usual. But since then, I've been hosting that as well. And I've been helping to organize and book and do little things when I can. So anyways, in the small little bit of experience that I have of organizing shows and putting MCs onto shit, I like to give them more time. Not too much. You know, you don't want to give your single acts half an hour every single time, but it's like we had one where we had Low Pesci with Borden and Nomadic Massive at our show, and fucking... It's not like we gave them 10 minutes, you know what I mean? I think Nomadic Massive, I think we both gave those guys to half an hour each because they have a lot of music, plus there's more than one person on stage and whatever. But your average solo act should have at least 15 minutes of solid material 20 minutes of the same, you're right.
And the thing is like at a certain point, you're now years in the game, and you're like, bro. I mean, I was able to do a solid 30, because like yo, if we fucking ended up
for sure. But think about it as a spectator. You don't want to see like, let's say you're not really into this act.
But what I'm saying,
you gotta wait half an hour for the next act.
Yeah, depending on the show, it's fair. But I'm saying if you can do a solid 30, you're not going back to 10 minutes. That's more like you're not doing 10 minutes again.
Oh no.
That's kind of like.
I mean, if someone invited me for a 10-minute act now, I'd be like,
I don't even know. Like,
no offense.
I couldn't even convey the multiple styles I would rather show you if I only have one song, that kind of shit. So it's like, I don't know. But it's more, I can't sell those tickets, so I'm not going to try. Like, nobody's coming to watch me rap for 10 minutes. Like, I don't even think I could get somebody to come.
Cancel all of their plans on Friday night to go and watch their buddy rap for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
So I'm like,
if we could have rappers, like let's say at a showcase, rather than have 10 acts with 15 minutes each or 10 minutes each, and hoping that 10 people will bring 10 people and then you have 100 people at your show. If you book 3 acts that have a following in the city, and they have interconnected followings as well, if we really build on this community that we're trying to build, then you get your 3 solid acts, you give them 25 minutes each with like a 10-minute interval in between. Yeah, you have a greatly organized show that will be fun, entertaining, and fun for the most part, you know what I mean? More than anything. But just just self-serving.
Just to go back to that 25, 30-minute set point, I would just assume you're not booking me for 30 minutes without knowing what the fuck I sound like. And since I have everything I have out, I would assume you're Googling me if you're offering me 30 minutes, and that makes sense for the audience. Right? And at that point, it's like, I mean, if you don't think I'm worth bringing, I'm not going to go to your show. Like, it's no offense to them, but like, I have a lot of video evidence of me performing. So it's like, I'm not worried, bro. Like, I got the shit to back up the claims. So it's like, cool. Sound-wise, that's a promoter's job to fucking pick acts that make sense together so that the crowd fucking is interested in all the acts. That's completely on the promoter to like do a little market research and book stuff. So
because how many times do you go to a show where fans are just there for they're not fans, they're friends of the artist. They're just there to watch their friend perform, and then after their friend performs, they fuck off. By the time the last person's on stage,
it got to a point, honestly, where I stopped inviting people to shows if I really didn't like but if I didn't really think that the people around me on this set were going to be appealing to anybody that fucked with me. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. Because I actually went through the experience of, I got 10 people to show up to this fucking show, and a fight breaks out and shit, and they went back to day job land, and they told everybody it was scary, and it took me over a year to get a single person to be willing to trust coming to a performance. And I'm like, wow. And then I'd try to explain that to promoters and shit, bro, and they'd be like, bro, you just can't sell tickets. And I'm like, you're right, I can't sell tickets, I'm sorry. Not when the show, not after the fight. You guys put me in a bad position here. Like, that was a reality. That really happened to me, dude. It really fucked shit up for a long time. And I'm like, I don't know anybody else. I go to work. I've been at the same company for 11 straight fucking years. Trust me, my social circle is who I meet at shows and fucking work. And like, that's it. That's my like influx. Or maybe I get to meet a person at a park. So it's like, okay, guys, I'm too old to be a university student that can hustle tickets and shit.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I lost a lot of interest because for a while it was cool and people just kept inviting me to shit. And then people just stopped inviting me to shit. But I was a dickhead. Fair enough, everyone. Fair enough to the world. That might.
Yeah, but all rappers can be dicks at some point. Or is it not in our nature to kind of be egotistical and, arrogant in a sense?
Yeah, I pissed off some stupid people. I would like.
Oh, dude. I can't tell you how many Montreal rappers hate me, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah.
These things happen. It's not something I take seriously either. It's just like, okay. And,
I didn't take it necessarily seriously per se, but I can absolutely tell you it fucked my reputation with a lot of people in a lot of circles. And then I realized that the English market's pretty small. And now I'm all fucking love people. I pretty much like there's very few people I dislike at this point in any real meaningful way. It's basically love everybody because we're all we got, like that fucking Flipstar song says. So basically you're running.
Definitely. I'm guilty of the same thing though at certain points. You know what I mean? I think we all are. Like,
yeah. So, then I turned 30.
Yeah, do some dumb, arrogant shit and burn bridges with certain people and all that, whatever. These things do happen.
But yeah, like, how'd you get into throwing shows? Because you said you did the show for the Dumar Brown's birthday party thing, I think, at some point. How did you decide to, like, get into throwing your own events? Because, like, all things considered, however much people might think about you, I look at life like when you're doing these interviews, what are people like done? So there's the tier of I released music, fine, cool. But then it's like, what else did you do? Right? Like, often the music part's one of the most boring parts of the interview, and it's all the other shit that make it kind of litty. So it's like the fact that you're actually like a concert promoter and doing this other shit is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I've dabbled. I mean, like, one thing that, well, look, what I still do like to do for Common Ground is hosting. Because I feel like one thing I've learned about myself over the years in music and working in kitchens is that I have a personality once I start to feel comfortable in a certain setting. Once I started feeling comfortable in a kitchen, it's like I'm unfuckwithable. You know what I mean? I thrive in a kitchen environment. And then eventually the same became true for the hip hop world. You know what I mean? If I'm at a show, I'm on stage, I'm really in my element. I feel comfortable. And I learned how to be entertaining outside of just rapping your songs. You have to engage your audience. You got to have fun with it. So I learned that hosting is like a way to get into just having fun with it, engaging a crowd. So basically, like that's something I've always just kind of wanted to do, and I've attempted a couple of times, and I've been successful a handful of times with it. But yeah, I mean, from the Doom show, which was, I guess, is the first time I ever organized or hosted anything up until the last few shows I did, you know, just pre-COVID. Yeah, it's fun to do. It's fun to do. It's more than just rapping. It's also about being a personality, being someone that can bring us together and engage the crowd, and not just be like, okay, next up, here's this person. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I never liked those.
You need a host that's gonna.
You gotta be like the host that's like.
Yeah.
Well, I always look at it like if you watch the TV show hosts, they totally script jokes and shit for that. Like when you're doing like an award show or anything, like, yo, these people come in and they got bits. They're like, fuck all of y'all. I'm more interesting than whoever the fuck I'm bringing up. So the one time I hosted a show, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to outperform all the rappers as a host. I don't know if I achieved that goal, but that was my goal. So I feel it. I feel that energy.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, you've always been an artist that stuck out. You know what I mean? One thing I don't like is like the monotony of the style of music that we hear from local rappers that are just trying to copy what is popular, kind of thing. Now, like, I'm a lot less intense than I used to be about this subject. I mean, when I was younger, I was very much a purist about this shit. You know what I mean? I used to be like, fuck auto-tune and all that. And it's still something I won't fuck with personally. But it's, you know what I mean? It is what it is, guy. I mean, like, it's a style of music. It's been a style of music for over a decade. Anyways.
It's a tool.
But
it's a tool.
When we would go to local shows and we see guys just trying to be Future, just trying to be Migos, just trying to be whatever, even just trying to be Kendrick Cole, Drake, what have you, I get frustrated with that personally. I want to see people who are going to do something different. HSR has always been an artist that has come up on stage and been like, okay, here's something that's going to be a little bit out of the box. You know what I mean? I've always appreciated that about you.
That shit didn't happen. That was hard.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the suit's real though.
I don't know how you'd get up on stage in a full fucking suit, bro.
Oh, straight up. I'll break it down one time. It was all about girls.
I'm taking off my shirt and shit, bro. You're there
dude.
Full 3-piece.
Because I'm like overweight, right? I'm an overweight dude, not necessarily feeling the best about my body at this time and shit, right? So I have this deduction at a certain point. If I walk in wearing a suit, because I realized showing up well dressed to a date, helped increase the likelihood of smashing happening. And I like that. I liked it when girls wanted, I liked it a lot. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it now, but it motivated me.
It's nice to feel desirable.
But like back at like that age, shit, that's half the reason I rapped. Like, but honestly, yeah, no, everything was back then like I gotta get powerful, blah blah blah, because ultimately, on vanity reasons, I can then smash with whatever frequency I can smash with. So I thought to myself, everybody looks like a hobo in a lot of ways. Sometimes, not every show, but like you go to the like fucking club and everybody dresses the same, everybody acts the same, and whatever. And I'm like, but girls always say guys look the best in a suit, like across the board. Oh, you clean up well. They go out of their way to compliment you when you bust out the suit. I said that's the move. That's gonna be the most valuable way to approach this situation in that regard. Yeah. And then it turned out that.
And how many acts do you see get up dressed formally? In a sense,
not very often. I know I'm not the only one. I know there are people who have done this, but like I would say in Montreal's English hip hop scene, I'm the suited motherfucker, and everybody knows it. Well, those who have ever seen it, but like. Yeah, no, it was really because I did that. And then I realized that drunk people remember you. Like, drunk people remember the motherfucker who got up on stage and rapped in a suit. Yeah. And I'm like, this is... the suit, man. But then, like, it would be like, I'd go to shows. It got to a point where people would, like, come up to me and be like, I remember you rapping at that shit. And I'd be like, I don't remember you because I was drunk. And they'd be really offended and shit. And I learned really, you gotta lie sometimes. Sometimes lie is lessons I learned in life.
Sometimes lie, yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, it's hard to remember people though. You think they're meeting a lot of people in a night, and like they have a hard time remembering you, bro. You're meeting all these people, these other artists, their friends, their fans, and if you're doing shows regularly, like every other weekend, you're meeting a lot of new people all the fucking time, and you're almost always drinking. If you're like
stop
me.
That. That's the thing. I had to stop drinking. At a certain point, I realized like drinking is bad for my life, and so at first I drank because I thought I had to. Like you get this notion of I'm gonna suck, so I would get drunk, and it was almost the only time I would drink was when I rapped. Honestly, I didn't really drink unless I was rapping because for some reason I thought it made me a better performer on some nerve shit. Yeah. And then I remember doing it sober on some circumstance shit, and I'm like, oh, I'm fucking good sober. Like no weed, no nothing. Sure. I'm like fuck that, and then it was just. I mean, I'm weeded pretty much every time since, but like alcohol, I don't think I've actually performed. Yo, what's up, Jumpin' Joe? I don't think I've actually performed with alcohol in years. Like, I don't think I would. That would fuck me up. You're gonna catch me at whatever show I do next. I'm gonna be maybe like 84 joints in, but I don't think I'll have a drop of alcohol.
Okay.
And then
I don't know. Like, I like to drink at shows because it's getting stoned and then getting up on stage.
But I remember everything, right? That's the only thing. So for me, I can remember the whole night then. I'm not going to forget things. That's how I can do it. I mean, I smoke and I remember the interview shit and whatnot as proof of it. But like, that's it. So if I drink, I forget everything. That's why I forgot where I was going with it. If I drink, I forget everything. And if I smoke, I'm going to remember people that I talk to and the conversations I have with. I might not remember faces at all, but I'll remember the conversations I have with people, and that'll be very valuable to me as like a networking tool. And I feel like one of the things I have always disliked about the way people treat performances is that it's not like a party to me. Like it's always felt like a job. Like, man, it's like I've got to go out and I got work the next day, blah blah. So I've always treated it like it's a fucking job. And it's like, it's not a party. Like, we're putting on a show for an audience that's like, we're selling a service to people and shit. So it's like, I don't know, maybe like that vibe.
I feel differently, personally. But I mean, I want to get up and I want to go and have a party. You know what I mean? I want to go up there and have fun because I want it to be a fun performance. Like I said, like I didn't do this to monetize anything. I didn't do this with any kind of intent to gain anything from it. It was just something. So
I don't mean to not have fun. But when people take it too far with the party, it stops being like a show.
Yeah, but that's just true in general, right? Like, I come from a whole background of drinkers and substance abuse and whatever the case, and that's true outside or inside of music, or neither here or there.
And I'm not saying alcohol is inherently a problem. It's the attitude of the party.
Oh, but when you focus and make too much of when you put too much emphasis on the partying, and less on the showmanship of it, I guess you're right. That it becomes negative and it reflects negatively on you, on your product, on your, on your.
Let me put it like this:
seal or whatever.
The scene. The scene has a reputation. Like I find a lot of the conversation is like we talk like, okay, so let's say TNT is a team, that's the Habs, and you're a player on the Habs, and then behind us Susta whatever team, and this is how we've always analyzed it, and we've always thought about the reputational impact of the teams and how they relate to each other, but nobody ever talked about the NHL's reputation. So when you ask people, and that's Montreal hip hop when you're not saying it in French, Montreal, that's a different thing. Montreal hip-hop, its reputation, bro, it's not in a good place, man. You talk to average folk, as in like people disconnected from the scene, and you go, would you go to a show? Yeah, you get a mild curiosity, but more often than not, you get a fuck no, or something with an extreme like, are you kidding me attached to it, because of the attitudes that a lot of people have kind of displayed with how serious it gets taken. Now, this is not Holden's opinion. This is what I've actually encountered in real life, trying to push the idea on people to get market research so I could have conversations like this. But like, I'm talking like young people, random employee shits, just casual whatever. Man, people don't think we're serious, so they don't treat us serious. You know what I mean? Like, that's the perception I have when people think of Montreal hip-hop as a collective unit of shits. Mad not good for people trying to make careers out of it. That's just like
I guess.
So it's like I hear the perception and desire to like have fun, and I don't want to give up fun, but there's got to be a balance between fun and we're doing a job. Cause like
I don't know, I've never really seen it as a job, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Cause like
I don't think
I've always
most
had
people
my job. You know what I mean?
I don't think
my escape with music. My music has always been my escape. But that's me, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
It's not just
I'm
you.
saying, like, for me, it's always just an escape.
It's like a lot of, not most, fun. It's a lot of people I've talked to. But, like, I'm obviously being pointed in this. I'm clearly, like, my intention of bringing this up is what I think needs to happen next. More so as, like, life reopens and how people should treat some shit if they want to make money. Like these two things happen.
Yes, of course. Certain artists and certain things should be taken more seriously. But I don't know. At the same time, artists should maybe stop taking themselves so seriously and have a little bit more fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's what I would like to see more. I don't mean more fun in that you have to be necessarily irresponsible or you know what I mean? Fucking berated. Or
let me like reframe it. So the show starts at this time. Show up 15 minutes early. Treat it professionally. Go do whatever you want to do while you're there. I don't give a fuck. But be present. Be part of the crowd. Don't stand outside smoking. Like, I'm sorry, but the way people treat it, I don't know. Like, there's got to be a different kind of behavior that's got to happen amongst the artists to encourage people to want to come. Because if none of us can get footage of fucking people in the show performing, it looks whack. And then when you're putting that online, that's what people see. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm saying I agree with you. Take yourself less seriously, but in doing that, treat the scene more seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, I don't want to come off like whatever. Yo, bro, I'm going to go turn up on my next performance and make it the funnest shit I can fucking do. But I'm also going to put in a whole bunch of time. Well, next real on stage performance. I don't care if it's like a park or something. But like, yo, I've been training for this for 1.5 years. Like, I haven't been off season, right? Like, for me, so it's like, to me, I take it really seriously as like a performer, as like a, yo, I want you to pay me to come do this, right? Like, as an artist, I don't give a fuck about music sales and shit. Dude, I'm making the weirdest shit musically right now. I don't even take myself seriously in that regard. But I also want like people to want to put up $50 to a Montreal hip hop show one day so that somebody can get fucking paid. And if everybody's taking it too casual, nobody will ever get to that point. So there has to be some degree of people that want to take it serious to get other people to casually want to come to the fun random shit. You know, like there has to be this middle class tier of shit that isn't like mad successful but still treats it like they are. And if that never exists, I don't see how a real ecosystem can thrive, because no money's ever going to come in and then everybody's relying on jobs and shit and not able to focus as much on art. That's just my, like, I mean, you may not want to pursue it like that, but me and a lot of people I know do, right? Like, I know so many people that really do want to pursue it like that. Like, I go to work and shit to finance my dreams so that it can finance itself one day. Like, I have to go to work. It's not like I want to, you know? Like, it's just a means to get to where, well, I kind of love what I do, so I don't hate it. Don't want to make that clear as I say this in case the boss people watch. But, like, yo, it's a means to an end, and they know it. I just did a corporate presentation about flexing on all my accomplishments. They know what the fuck I'm doing. But, like, that's my only fear with it is I find, like, a lot of the attitude is, like, but for you to do it, like, man, it's like, I feel like you have other passions that you're pursuing, though. And things, you know, like there's are things in your life that you like really do have, like you're a chef, right? That's not in my head. I feel
like and that's kind of always been the way that I like, that's been my living in life, you know what I mean? That's been my what's the word I'm looking for, my livelihood, you know what I mean?
That's like a artsy it's still like an artistic thing, right? It's still a career.
Yeah, it's creative. It's creative, but it's also kind of a craft. It is an art form in a sense. That's what I was going to say, but it's more of a craft. I mean, like, if you ever read the book, if anybody's ever read the book, Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, he actually talks about that a lot, that there are the artists in the kitchen world, people that want to change the way we see food and stuff like that, and that's cool, but your realist chefs, your dopest chefs, your dopest cooks or whatever, yeah, they're people that can operate as cooks. They're craftsmen.
Okay.
We all start very humbly, just like in any craft, you know. We all start very humbly, just kind of fumbling around with whatever. There's the instruction, but then there's the trial and error, and then there's the you know, you can decide which direction you want to bring your craft or whatever the case. Just like if you want to be a line cook your entire life, you want to be a head chef at some kind of, you know what I mean, 5-star kind of institution, restaurant or whatever. If you want to work, you know what I mean, at a fast food joint, flipping, you know, like a Bel Pro or something like that, or you know what I mean. Ultimately, though, it's a craft. It's something that you have to practice over and over. Especially as a line cook, it's repetition. You have to take somebody else's creation, which is, you know, nobody starts off as a chef. Everybody has to start off. You know what I mean. You have to learn how to do execution and not just make things that look pretty, you know what I mean?
Bro, it sounds exactly like but it sounds exactly like learning to sing. It sounds exactly like learning to play bass, and then it just sounds like the end goal is more utility focused. So it's like, to me, they're so similar.
The craft, but it is a creative craft. You're right. It's especially if you're a chef in a more conventional sense, in that you're creating new dishes, you're creating menus, you're working with a staff under you. You know what I mean? You're working as a leader. That in itself is not only a craft, not only a creative thing either. You know what I mean? There is an art to it, creating food that not only tastes but looks good to the eye, which is extremely important. There's also the whole, like, being a leader. There's the leadership aspect to it, the social aspect to it that cannot be faked, cannot be learned in an institution either. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to gain over the years. I mean, like, I've been like a head chef at a bar in NDG, but I mean, like, I'm not a chef in the tier of, like, you know what I mean, these guys who do molecular gastronomy and you know what I mean, 5-star Michelin chefs and shit like that. You know what I mean? I'm an OG line cook. I've been doing it for 12 years. I have created menus. I've helped create menus. I've helped open kitchens. I've helped close kitchens. I've done a lot of it, man. I've got over 20,000 hours in kitchens. I've done the math. And I now have the opportunity to create the menu for the Hip Hop Cafe with our friend Olivier Pro. Yeah. So when that does open, that's going to be me. That's going to be my food, my creation, my that's going to be the over a decade of shit that I've had to shovel in my face coming to life into a creative and fun menu.
So what I heard you just say is, and then I became a chef. Got you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying. You know what I mean? I never went to school for it. So, like, that's the whole thing is you can learn through experience, but you really have to know your shit. You really have to be able to execute it and back up all your talk if you want to call yourself a chef. I learned that the hard way. I've been chewed out by old mentors and shit. Well, yeah, you know what I mean? And there's a competitive edge to it, you know, and there's an egotistical edge to it too, because if anybody's ever worked in a kitchen or in a restaurant or a bar that's listening or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, where you have to be able to hold your own. You have to be able to not back down, to be able to stand up for yourself, because there's people that will fucking eat you alive, you know what I mean? And yeah, this stuff very much like the hip hop world, I guess, in many ways.
So I'm just saying, with all that, I could see how maybe you scratched a little itch in the kitchens that maybe made it like, yeah, this is good for me. You know, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think
it's something I love to do too. You know.
So a lot of us, it's like, nah, we don't have that. Like I don't get that from work. I don't get any. I mean, there's corporate office politics, my guy. I mean, it's kind of like it, but it's,
yeah. I've worked in a corporate restaurant before, which I got the only job I've ever been fired from, actually. So I know all about that. So,
I mean, it's been mad useful. I'm not gonna downplay the education of what I've learned at my day job, but yeah, like I would rather make money being a music podcasting fucking media mogul. That sounds like way doper. I'm just gonna throw it out there. But I think a lot of us want that. And that's why I'm like, to achieve that goal, I mean, I think there needs to be a tier of super fun shit for kids and students and young people that just want to go to end of the week. Like, end of the week is fucking power. Like, it's a powerhouse. But then you also need to have other shit. And it needs to be like this, honestly, like an orgy of opportunities that a person can have of different things that will cater to their moods more than it just being a lot of whatever. So I'm all for casual shit, but you have to tell us about your end of the week experiences, mostly because fucking I've seen that fucking picture with that story like 6 times now, and so you may as well run that broken leg fucking.
Which story? Where I showed up on crutches?
Yeah, man, that shit like that. But just run through your experiences with end of the week, because they're kind of important in my life right now. So it's fucking cool to hear what you've gone through with them.
Well, interestingly enough, that was my first year with end of the week. Was 2019. I had previously done the Cypher freestyle competition enough times. I've won it actually, in fact, once or twice.
When?
Shout out to the Cypher, shout out to Vince, shout out to everyone at Urban Science, by the way. I missed that event so much. Anyways, end of the week is something I wanted to make sure I was ready for, because I saw it as, I recognized that more of like as a higher echelon in the international hip hop community, you know what I mean? And it was something that like, shit, if I'm going to do this, I better come correct kind of thing. And then I was invited. I believe it was Guillaume that approached me and said like, why don't you come on? And I was like, all right, fuck it, let's try it. So it was the summer of 2019. I know the spiel, right? Like I know the deal when you go to the end of the week competition or whatever. I know what you have to do. Kind of like I've seen it happen a bunch of times. And I thought like, okay, like I've done this before. Okay, I should be all right. And I did like not terribly, but not super great the first time. I felt like anyways, but apparently I did well enough to play second behind Senecal. I believe that was in July, maybe August of 19.
That's a very challenging guy to compete against.
Oh yeah, man. That's actually someone. Shout outs in. That's someone I really look up to. As an entertainer and as a dude. You know what I mean? I find him very entertaining. I find him very chill, very potent as a rapper, very funny as a comedian, and just really chill. So, anyways, yeah, I was happy with that though. You know what I mean? When the finals came, he couldn't make it for one reason or another, so I was invited as his runner-up. As luck would have it, I had fallen off my skateboard one morning on my way to work and tore my ACL. I have never been in that much pain in my life before. Basically, your knee bends one way, mine kind of bent the other way. Very briefly, but pretty fucking tough. Anyways, so I was wrapped up in this big cast from my mid-thigh to like my lower shin, keep my knee straight, and laid up in bed, and I missed a month
got
of
a
work.
giant ass beard.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to rock the beard. Everybody knows that. Also, this is a bit different. I've been blonde my whole life. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I got old and my hair turned black. So Anyways,
Sounds like a My Chemical Romance song, to be honest.
oh my god, that's not the kind of punk rock I listen to. But all right, that's cool. So yeah, when you invited me, when Guillaume hit me up and he's like, "Hey, look, Senecal can't make it. Can you come as his runner-up?" And I'm sitting there like, "Fuck." At this point, I'm healed up a bit, right? But it's still like walking is a chore. I'm still on crutches, on 2 crutches, and it's in Laval, and I don't have a ride there. I live uptown. I don't drive, but I get a chance to perform or to compete rather in the end of the week finals, Quebec. So I'm like, absolutely, I'll be there. So yeah, man. I fucking jumped on the metro, bro. I drank like half a bottle of wine to like fight off a bit of the pain, the anxiety and shit. And I jumped up on the metro. I had a couple friends meet me there later in the night, but yeah, man. Getting up on first of all, getting there from the metro to the venue was several blocks away. And again, I'm not taking a bus or nothing. Like I hopped along on my fucking crutches, man. But I made it there. Late, just before the event started, but I made it there. I had a great night. I mean, I was in a lot of fucking pain though. You know what I mean? But it was for the love of it, man. Again, it's got to be fun for me. It's got to be. It just seemed like that's gonna be fun. I absolutely have to go do this, and also that's like the baddest shit ever, bro. This dude hopped along on his crutches to come and compete, and fucking yeah, people still talk about it, I guess.
Well, I see it on Facebook. It might be you that shares it. It might be other people that shares it. It might be End of the Week Quebec. I don't fucking know who shares it. But man, when that shit shows up, and it's happened I guess twice now because of the years, but like, man, you just can't help it. You read the whole fucking post and you're like, damn, that's a fucking story. Like, that's one hell of a story. Yeah. And the picture looks fucking glorious. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I never got to do the End of the Week tournament thing.
For anyone that's interested, I believe the footage is on YouTube. I'm pretty sure if you sift through enough End of the Week footage, of which there's fucking hours.
Type Quebec. You have to type Quebec, or else
it's going to be it has to be EOWQC.
Main End of the Week, which is a lot of footage.
It was the finals 2019. If anybody wants to see me make an ass of myself. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm actually pretty proud of myself that I was able to fucking fight off that coursing pain through my leg.
Big question then.
So to make it there. Yeah.
What's your favorite round at End of the Week given the tournament style?
Don't really remember what was different about the tournament style as opposed to
I meant because there's the final style too. Well, like there's just the acapella, the beat round, the fucking.
My favorite round has always been when I'm given words. I mean, like at least in the cipher, it was always a normal thing. They give you a list of words to incorporate. The items are a bit tougher, but I find when they give you words to use, it's always been when I have a jump off point, when it's like freestyling, kind of know what you would like to do with that word, kind of where you would want to place it in a sentence and what sentiment you would like to express using that word. You know, and if you're used to freestyling, then it's something you can do easily. For me, it helps me as a jump up point. If the first round is the hardest for me, but it's like rap for like freestyle, you know, completely off the top, or like no subject, no jump off point, whatever, just go. I don't know what to do. But if you give me a list of words, it's like I can kind of formulate very quickly little sentences in my head and how I could tie them together, you know?
I never tried the word thing till last Tuesday.
And what did you think?
It's not my favorite, but everyone else really liked it. So I like it when a lot of people like things, and I'm like, well, I mean, okay. But they were like giving me words that didn't exist, so that was fun. I don't know. I just rap about whatever the fuck's on my mind, stream of consciousness in those moments, and I'm alright with that because I've always just been. I'm really bad at puns and similes. I have like virtually none in my catalog. I have like 8, and so I'm super proud of the ones I did come up with. But like, I'm just so it's like, yo, if I have to start freestyling, I'll be like, okay, Jay DaVille said I have to start freestyling, so I got to be kind of proper with it, wild out, show the people, you know, fly out, you know. Just I'm not saying that was dope. I'm saying, you know, that's just where my brain would go. Just take that last thing I heard and just move it, like whatever it is, or I'll be mad. Sometimes I hear some shit like 7 minutes ago and be like, fuck that. I'm mad about that idea. And then I'll just, whatever I'm mad about, oh my God, it's easiest shit in the world. I'll just rant with rhymes.
I feel you.
That's the best way for me. But, people want punches and shit
Well,
when
that's
they
it.
want
I
that
feel like
shit.
if I have a...
And that's where, like...
Well, that's what
Like, people really want punches and shit in that kind of vibe a lot. So I'm, like, not really translate. I don't translate well into that environment. I learned that with End of the Week New York. I'm like, oh... It isn't that I don't make music good. It's that I don't make New York-styled music good. And I'm like, fair enough. I totally 100% respect that. What's up, DJ Magnanimous? Shout out him.
Art Magnanimous. What's up, guy?
Yo,
love that dude.
I like him a lot. I have many good memories where he's in the background being DJ man. And it's like, how do you dislike a guy when you have good memories of them? And some of your highlights are like, yeah, I got to showcase this shit. And he's there.
All right, bro. Alexa, turn the light on.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got a timer for my light and shit.
I never thought once about timers for lights. That's an interesting idea. I haven't explored a lot. Anyway, I get distracted in interviews like that at a certain point. But yeah. So you did the end of the week thing. Then you went to the finals, and that's blessed. Would you go back to end of the week?
Well, COVID popped off a few months later, so no.
I ended up at a barbecue where people was
2019.
fucking freestyling, so I mean that happened one time.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear about that. Okay.
But to be fair, it wasn't like an event. It was like, I don't know how. At that point, I had discovered the end of the week Zoom because of Basics like hitting me up and be like, bro, Quebec's invading the Zoom, so you have to come. We have to be there. Come. And so I did. I think you were there too. I'm pretty sure I saw you.
I've done it a few times.
And so
I have a very hard time sitting in front of my computer and freestyling, and I don't feel like I catch a vibe with people like digitally like this. That's why I don't pop up on your freestyle thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll come and watch, but there's a reason why I don't really pop up on ciphers online. You know what I mean?
I
don't feel inspired sitting here in this fucking basement.
I totally appreciate that. Like, to be fair, I'm in the same room I make music in when I'm on my shit. Like, so for me, this is the creative room and space where, like, I'm gonna come and do my shit. So, like, I feel like that's an interesting point. If your environment's not that inspiring, perhaps it's not a great place to come rap. I like that you said that. That's such an interesting point.
Not for a freestyle cipher, bro. You know what I mean? When I'm in the cipher, it means I'm surrounded by dudes because you're feeding off of their energy live, you know what I mean? And that's when you take somebody's subject and you make that as a jump point, and people like that, you know what I mean? And then you can impress yourself. Once you get on a roll, you can impress yourself with not just the puns. For me, it's not so much about wordplay, but about like the powerful shit that you can say and make sense and purvey a cool feeling through your music, through your words and shit, you know what I mean? And when you can do that right off the top of your head, or make it funny or interesting or something, you know what I mean? Depending on what the subject is, depending on what the setting is.
Yeah, that's fair. I was really bad at in-person ciphers because up until like COVID, I was a little bit more shy and cowardly in those moments. So I could remember being there, and it's fucking Monkey and like Cool Man Logan. I'm like, yo, man, you try cutting into these presences when they don't know who the fuck you are. Like, it's one thing if they know who you are, but if they don't know who you are, it's like extra hard to even get like a 1-2 bar in.
Yeah.
I finally did. Got Monkey to respect it. That was a big moment for me because he remembered it. So that was really cool. But man, it was so awkward, honestly, just standing in this circle. Like, can I rap for 5 minutes too? Can I? No. You know, like so the Zoom was like, I don't know if I like that environment. I'm an antisocial motherfucker that doesn't like to cut in because I just feel weird about it. I feel weird cutting you off to rap. You know, like I feel weird about that. I know now. Fuck it. I went to Girard Park and stole that fucking cipher. But like, the other shit changed. But like prior to that, I was kind of in that vibe. So like to me, it was more like, fuck it. I'll do it on Zoom on my platform on my channel, and then I'll feel mad comfortable. And I just created an environment that I was cool with, and then that was just it. And then I would love to do it in real life, but I think the Zoom thing has a vibe for a particular series of reasons where it's worth pursuing forever. Because like you're never gonna have the in and out level of casualness that people from all over can hit it up. Like, it's possible the homeboy in South Africa could show up one day if he can like figure it out on time zone shit. Like, that shit can't happen in a park. So it's like you compromise the in real life bonuses of energies, and you get international. I don't know, man. It's fucking cool. Like, that's always been the trade-off. Like, I've been able to connect with people that don't live here because of the internet, at the cost of meeting people
That's
here.
always a cool feeling. That's always a cool feeling. I even had a dude reach out to me once recently. He was like, "Yeah, man, cool. I wish I could make it to the show." I was promoting a show a couple years ago. He was like, "Yeah, I wish I could make it to the show." And I'm like, "Hey, man, why don't you come out or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh, because I live in Beirut." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I got fans in Beirut. That's interesting." You know what I mean? And that kind of shit does happen. I mean, like when you push your shit online, fucking ask anyone. I don't know if you know about Tokyo Kid. You probably know Tokyo Kid. I went to high school with him actually. But there's the reason why he calls himself Tokyo Kid, I'm pretty sure, is because when he first started making his music and shit, he actually started to develop a fan base in Japan. You know what I mean? The internet does interesting things, especially in the first 10 years of the internet blowing up from 2000 to 2010. We did a lot of weird, albeit very inexperienced things with the internet, you know?
I would say that we're at this place where the migration to live interactive has recreated a lot of those magical moments. Like Golden Jenny's here. I don't know if she's still here because she's in Norway and whatever. It's late. But yo, Golden Jenny shows up from Norway all the fucking time, and like, yo, there's this like just people that like I would have never met or had that, or like it just blows my mind. Mm-hmm. And now I don't know how to fully do it. I want to blend it with real life. If I can get like a jam space and like a projector, I think I can create like a hybrid that like integrates real life with the Zoom call in a fucking weird way that could work.
Like a hologram?
No, literally, just imagine, okay, because what do you put behind you on the set? Like a lot of times we put our logo and shit, fine, that's a move. But what if instead it projects a Zoom call? And on the Zoom call, a motherfucker could rap, and the people in the bar or wherever you're at could hear it, and anybody that fucking rapping there is heard on the Zoom call. So now you've done something like you've bridged the gap, like, you know, that's what I like to do, and fucking like, fucking like, kind of blend it, right? Like if I can pull that off, oh my god, it's the utopia. Because then the streams, the shows monetize doubly. And then like you can do anything, because if like that, like if you're not, it's just like robbing yourself. You know, it's almost robbing yourself to not find a way to do this shit. At least stream your shit live moving forward. Whoever the fuck you are, whatever show you're doing, stream it to Twitch every time. Like, bro, just do it.
I thought about getting into it. We had that conversation a few months ago, actually. I was saying like, fuck, I thought about doing it, you know what I mean? But more this kind of thing, more of a
no, I mean like
podcast or maybe even comedy, sketching. I don't know, like sketch comedy, something interesting. You know what I mean? Not just standing there and rapping. Not for me anyway. You know?
No, I hear you, but like what I'm saying is, look at what King of the Dot and them do. They take their event that you would pay live and they stream it to their fucking Caffeine if it's URL, and Twitch if it's, and we're talking like these are real enterprises, right? So if we look at how they're utilizing it, there's the in-person experience, which allows them to tour and set up shit in their main places, LA or wherever the fuck, Toronto or whatever their setup is. And then simultaneously, they just set it up that you could also go watch it live on a platform that allows donations. Because the fact is, 50,000 people will show up to that stream if it's a good event on top of whoever's in the room. So it's like, that to me is a little bit what it, so like you were going to have all these local events start happening. Right? Somehow Waka Flocka is coming. You know what I'm saying? Like things are coming. And I'm not saying the Waka Flocka one has to be like the one you stream, because that's kind of bigger profile than what I'm thinking. But like, say like a CY showcase. You take that shit and you just stream it live to the fucking CY Southwest fucking Twitch channel or whatever. And I say Twitch because it's your best place to get money / not deal with copyright in bad ways. Your safest bet right now. All the other sites will fuck you. So you do that. You run your live show as you're doing your real life show. At least then people who don't go can be part of your experience. Because, yo, there's a percentage of that audience that's never leaving their house again.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. I just want to see people making moves like that. Because we a tech city. That's what Montreal is, actually. So let's be tech a little bit more. That's my dreams, Holden's dreams.
Yeah.
But you're a promoter.
I guess.
What would be your tips for like live shit coming? You've dibbled and dabbled, but you've had a couple of stories involving you promoting, so you're more of a promoter than I. What would be your tips for like actually doing promoting? So let's say I want to go throw a show in these new era. What would be the Jay DaVille guide to not doing stupid shit that you should know about?
I'd like to begin with I'm the absolute worst person to ask that question, but I'll answer it regardless. What I've always done is like kind of guerrilla marketing, mad flyers, mad posters. You know what I mean? Gives it kind of a nostalgic feel. First of all, that's something I've always been a fan of personally. So I go and hand out flyers at shows or hand out flyers at events, you know, to go downtown, hand out flyers to people that look like they listen to hip hop music, and you talk to people and you hand out flyers when you talk to people, and things like that. Putting up big posters in spots where a lot of people are going to see it before the cops come along and put it down. You know, it brings me back to my graffiti days, I guess, in a sense. I wouldn't say that is the way of going forward in the future, though.
Yeah, it's not.
That's been something I've always done. Social media is obviously a great thing, but one thing I will say that you shouldn't be doing, if you're trying to promote either a show or yourself or an artist or whatever, don't go and add random people that have mutual friends from the hip hop community and inbox them your fucking YouTube link or your SoundCloud link. Don't do that shit, please. Like it's I haven't, like we've talked about how inactive I've been in music for a very long time now, and I still get people inboxing me their stuff. And it's like, I'm not the person to be sending this stuff to. If I have a show that I'm putting together, I'm going to go out and scout local talent. I'm not going to be checking for the guy that's harassing me or mass tagging me and shit. I've gotten into mad arguments with people over this shit. I just don't like it. I think it's fucking ugly. Don't do that shit. If you're going to use social media as a platform for production, for promotion rather, it doesn't hurt to pay into it, man. Get sponsored links. Apparently it's not that expensive. You get a couple of sponsored links, and it looks much more professional when you have a sponsored link that reoccurs on people's timeline, rather than being mass tagged by the person who has the same name as the track. You're thinking like there's shameless self-promotion, which looks fucking ugly. It's part of the game, but there's creative ways to do it. You can just pay into a little bit of promotion online. I mean, and obviously word of mouth is my favorite form of promotion. When people talk about you because you're a dope artist, because you're a dope act, that's why they want to come see you. That's why they're going to pay money to come see you. You know?
I agree with you. I'm not 1,000%.
Like, just do something that's going to make people talk. I guess that's my biggest piece of advice is don't like be that. Whack, you know?
I'm more sold on paid.
Yeah, do something that's going to make people talk about you.
I'm more sold on paid to promote your show than your song, because to me it's all about return on investment at the end of the day. If you're doing paid, you're literally putting up a cost, so now you have to monetize back in some way or another. Streams isn't it, views isn't it, like that doesn't pay. That's not how you make money in this. So it's like, why would you put money into something that's not
as a local net? You're
no
right.
I'm talking, I got accidental,
not as an independent.
I'm just saying on raw numbers and shit, right? I got an accidental 8,000 on fucking YouTube by some random YouTube shit. $25. I'm just saying, views don't pay, my guy. Like, they don't pay. Like, when you run that number, exactly. That means 100. That means what? So if I had 800,000, we're talking what? Not even 2K and shit. Like, maybe 2K, but that's best case scenario. That's still not a lot of money if you think about advertising to get to that point. You're actually probably going to be running some L's on that number. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas a show, well, now you have a monetization point, your sales of the tickets and shit. So at that point, the more eyes you put on it, the higher likely you convert. You figure out the number of conversions that you can get, blah, 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 blah. But fact is, yeah, I will take your show more seriously if I see you put money behind it. I do pay attention to sponsored events because those are events that I feel like are taken more seriously now that I think about it. Mm-hmm. But also, you make money back because you might put in $50 and sell 5 more tickets and boom, you've made your money back. So like there's like a direct correlation between the dollars in and the dollars out. I don't know why people don't look at paid like that, but that's how I think you got to look at paid. But everything else you said, I'm like mad with you on Guerrilla. That's why.
Another thing I've always wanted to, well, we've always tried actually to tap into is getting paid sponsorships from corporations to do promotion for them at your shows. You know what I mean? So it's like Red Bull, PBR, even local. I mean, like I know Evidence Clothing isn't a thing anymore, but Evidence used to do that for the hip hop community. For example, who else? The NDG clothing company there. What the fuck?
Um,
Um,
the one that's like on
you-
Sherbrooke.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember the name.
What the fuck? Anyways, local companies that would like to, you know what I mean? They'll give you certain merchandise to move with their shows, or they'll help invest in your costs or whatever the case, as
Shit.
long as you promote their,
Whoever the
you know what
fuck
I mean?
has the list
That
of
kind of
that
stuff.
shit is valuable right now.
Pardon me?
Whoever the fuck has the list of all the people that do that right now is pretty valuable. That's all I can say.
Yeah, for sure, because it's not an easy thing to tap into. You have to make them, you have to give them an impressive press kit that shows them that you're a serious entertainment firm or whatever the fuck, or that you're a serious artist or whatever the case, that your platform is worth putting money and merchandise into, that there's going to be, like you said, invest in return on their end, you know what I mean? But if you can convince, for example, PBR to hook you up with a couple of cases to sell cheap, or some PBR shirts or whatever the case, and they also give you $500 to pay for the venue or to pay for promotion or whatever the case, you know what I mean? That's something that we've tried to tap into, but it's not easy to make, you know what I mean, unless you've created a platform that is recognizable. And like you'd have to make that shit look professional as fuck, you know what I mean? You have to take that shit mad seriously. And I'm not a business person, so
Nah, that's
I don't
where
have time with that.
I know, that's where we go back to that like party versus serious thing. You know what? I thought more about that since you brought it up. Not everyone has to be serious with it. I just think the people who are
No,
running
but there
this shit,
has to be people that take it seriously. You're not wrong about that. I just mean me personally. It's never been something I've tried to monetize. It's not the reason I got into this shit. Obviously, if I had the opportunity to make a living off of this and be um, consistent enough to be able to make money off of it, then I absolutely would love that. But I didn't see that happening. You know what I mean? I found it always more of just an escapism. It's just something I've done more than a hobby, because it does make money. Not very much, but like it can be your second job, your side hustle, whatever you want to call it. For me, it was just like, for a long time, just like that fucking, it's stereotypical, but that song "Hip Hop Is My Life." The reason that I said that was that I felt like hip hop at that point in my life was my lifestyle. It really was, and my bread and butter was one, you know, at the time, washing dishes, making salads, you know what I mean, doing humble kitchen work. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just, for me anyways, it's more about having fun, you know what I mean? It's always just been more about just making music, and fucking, if it's not fun, bro, I don't want to do it. If I'm not enjoying it, if I'm not enjoying every fucking moment of my life, bro, it's like, it's not worth, you know what I mean? I know that sounds stupid. I know that sounds stupid and boyish or whatever in a sense, but like, think about this. You could do shit with your life, even though it's work, even though it's tough, even though sometimes it fucking breaks you. If you love it, though, they say if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
If you love what you do, you will work many days in your life, and you'll fucking love it. You'll come home at the end of the day, you'll sit down, you'll say, what a fucking day. And I'm proud of myself because I'm still here and I'm still doing it. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and do the same shit.
Yo, big facts. The truth is, I love being super serious. I know it sounds weird, but I love it. I have a lot of trouble letting go and having fun. That isn't my cup of tea. A lot of people like to have fun. So trust, we need fun people at the party. I need to go.
Sure.
I mean, you want me to sit in the corner
intense,
and just show up, do my thing. But like, nah, I'm all like, it's just vibe. Like, people have that there. And I think, like, at the end of the day, though, like, you still are contributing. I mean, the fact that you're going to help out Olivier with that, you know, or just to be involved like that in these ways, it's, like, kind of big, you know? It's not, and it's the fact that maybe you stop recording at a certain point because of XYZ reason, and then you're still involved in
I feel like that's
people.
more of a hiatus. It's not, anyways, it's, don't get me wrong. I plan on making new music, releasing new music. I plan on.
Well, I certainly hope so.
It's just that, like, I felt like I haven't been in the right headspace for a little while. I've been trying to get my personal life together. That is finally coming together. You know, I got engaged last year to, like, my best friend in the world, and, like, my personal life as an adult man, it's coming together. So I can now focus on start to refocus on the things that I used to love so much in my life that brought me so much joy. But I'm having a hard time fighting a lot of cynicism about why still be this 30-something-year-old local rapper, you know what I mean? Why not pursue something else, you know what I mean? The food thing is also something like I'd love to do, and I don't see myself giving it up. But it's also...
I can say that while I take music in a sense at a marketing front more serious than ever, I've never had more friends in my life than taking music more seriously. I don't know how else to put it, but it attracted, like, imagine being able to, like, all of a sudden Vincent Price and, like, Cool Man Logan and I are hanging out, and, like, these are the guys I'm hanging out with. I'm like, what the fuck happened? When, like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, so... I don't know. There's a whole bunch of people coming out the woodwork that have also decided it's time. So I'm just saying, Jay DaVille, when you want to show up, there's a bunch of people in the whole world that are also coming out the woodwork and doing things right now. It's a bubbling era where there's just everything. Everybody can have a lane right now in Montreal. It's literally one of those, like, oh my God, we're a couple of years away from actual flow and circulation of cash. It's fucking fascinating. So the movies, though, Jay, the big mistake of our past, we target everywhere that's not named Montreal, and we take them and give their money to us. That's my plan. That's why it's got to be on the internet. So we can sell shit to people that don't live here. Let Atlanta give us money. And I'm like, that sounds dope to me. That sounds like a plan where we all get a little bit, not to say that I want, like, everyone to suffer. I would just love to see, like, a circulation flow of money coming in to support our cultural arts. Bro, it's to the point where I'm going to go ask all these local politicians and NDG in interviews about what they're going to do for the local arts so we can get some tourism dollars up in this bitch. I'm like, yo.
That actually is an important political question, to me anyways.
I'm like, yo.
And especially in places like Montreal.
Well, especially in NDG, which has a population of 166,000 people, and apparently they care way more about parents. And housing was what I found in the first one. And that's fair. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Like, housing's a really good thing to care about. But I'm also like, that's not what I care about as much. So I'm like, So I ended up, like, freestyling this bar on this shit where I'm like, I don't remember it verbatim, but it's like, yo, there's all this culture here, but the politicians have other crises. And I'm like, that's the reality, you know? So it's like, how do we, like, get their answers and then go back to people? So it's like, yo, we just have to pretend like we're a fucking tiny town in Ontario, and then we're going to be all right.
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't know. I feel like we have a very worldwide renowned arts and culture identity in Montreal. That's kind of how I've always seen it. And I don't mean strictly in music or hip hop. I mean just like in terms in general. Just like Montreal is a place that has always been known in terms of its arts and culture and all that. And I feel like it's important that if you're going to be running for mayor of whatever borough of Montreal or Montreal itself, that arts and culture is something that you're willing to.
But it's actually why I give such a shit about local politics, because Cordair, in all of his efforts to go high-scale tourism, really chokeholded the local scene a little bit and made our lives as independent. And then Plant didn't do shit but shit, in my opinion. I don't know what Plant did to make my life as an artist easier. So I'm also going, I don't know what it is there. So I would love to talk to Balarama Holness and be like, bro, what are you going to do about this issue? Do you care about this at all? Because I just want it to be like, I don't know, I'm going to talk to him. But I have City Councilor Christian Arsenal down to talk to me in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how that one goes, and it should be good. But I wanna talk to all of them about it. I want to know what the fuck's going on with our local art scene, and like, why is it that it's so big, but like there's like 3 venues in all of NDG, like for real. There's like 3 venues.
True.
That's weird to me.
True.
And then the answer is gentrification and houses and shit, whatever. Because they'll be like, you're going to Honey Martin. I'm like, Honey Martin ain't going to have me come rap. That's not going down. Like, that's the problem. So it's like, I want to really, but that's it. Like, I don't know. I got really caught up on that politics tip for a quick second there because I'm excited about it. But I just think
but it's important. Especially as an artist, as a musician, it's like, good to care about that kind of shit, bro. Obviously.
I just think it matters if we care about our scene. not that we have a huge influence, but imagine a bunch of English rappers started rapping about Cordair and Plant. You know what? Global news might cover that. And then if a bunch of people at work, you go to work one day, and they're like, "Yo, bro, what's going on with all these rappers talking about Cordair and Plant?" And you're like, "What the fuck?" Wouldn't that be amazing branding for the Montreal hip hop scene?
What small political drama?
It's kind of big scale for our reality. I mean, they're taking French away.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, why don't we rap about French issues? Like, to me, that's a weird thing. I realized that this year. I'm like, I don't rap enough about the fact that my mom can't get medical help in English no more. That's kind of a weird concern.
Yeah.
With a growing precedent, or the fact that like they're assimilating French people out of English education.
The education thing is the education thing is something
that just means,
you know what I mean? I mean,
limiting access to English.
I recognize French. I do recognize French as like the official language and whatever, and it's like quite important to learn French if you're going to be a Quebec citizen. But at the same time, we are not just the historical Anglophones of Quebec, but all Quebec citizens. If they should choose to get an education in English, it shouldn't be so fucking hard. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you there. That should be talked about a little bit more, especially by musicians.
Especially for a hip-hop purist that knows for a fact that in the purist era they were into local politics, and you know way too many random U.S. politicians named because of hip-hop.
That's true, actually. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, that was like, but it's punk to fight the man, so it's also super punk for people to do this. It's weird.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of hip-hop, I've actually thought about getting back into activism and or politics. You know what I mean?
If you really want to be a politician, right now is the time to.
Not a politician.
Okay, if you want to be if you want to do my kind of politics, let's get it.
No, I don't mean like I wouldn't rule it out eventually. You know what I mean? At any point in my life, but I mean like as it stands, I've done like a tiny little bit of activism in my life, and it felt fucking great. Tiny little bit of this, tiny little bit of that, and I've obviously always cared about political things, and I'm obviously a fucking flagrant leftist. You know what I mean? Not overly so, but you feel me? And
heavier leaning than most.
Hey man, if you say so. Anyways,
you're unapologetic about it. I don't have any disrespect for you.
Oh yeah, that's
there's no haterness in my comment. You're more left than me.
What I'm seeing in the world politically now, what I'm seeing is like a rise of a lot of really scary shit and disinformation and fake news and all this shit, and the world is becoming infinitely more scary to me by the day. I say this to my wife pretty often, that if my mom was alive today, she would freak the fuck out. She would lose her fucking mind. She absolutely hated Donald Trump. She thought he was fucking Satan long before he got involved in politics. She loved Bill Cosby. If she found out about that shit, she would lose her fucking mind. You know what I mean? And it's things like that make me think about like, damn, my whole political identity and understanding of the world and shit like that came from the second Bush era, right? Obviously from the W era, war on drugs, the war on terror rather, and all that fucking bullshit. And so I've obviously always seen I've seen the world in a certain lens. Anyways, so that's one thing. But the world was a little bit more cut and dry. When Republicans were Republicans and the news was the news, and even though there was Republican news and liberal news, the liberals were liberals and Republicans were Republicans, and politics, even though it was a fucking circus, it kind of made sense. The liberals were the underdogs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we live in a world where it's insane the things that people believe, without getting too much into detail on the subject. It's insane the things that people believe. I think it's important for us all to keep our heads during all this shit. And you know what I mean? Even though we don't agree with each other on certain little fundamental things, not to get carried away into crazy fucking shit that is extremely destructive.
Trust, I would definitely reel you in.
You know, that's why I feel like we should I personally feel like I just want to get more involved again into activism or into politics, or because I'm seeing a lot of growth. You know, let's take Canada right now and what we're going through right now. I'm seeing a lot of pain, but I'm seeing a lot of growth. But I'm also seeing a lot of opposition to that. I feel a lot of that is based in ignorance, and a lot of that is based in hate and things like that. And it's things like that I want to change about the world. You know what I mean?
I
I don't know.
definitely
That's
empathize heavy.
how I see it.
Believe it or not,
Pardon me?
I've read several books on big system change management because I'm truly fascinated by revolution. I read an 800-page book on Che Guevara. Like, trust, I'm really fascinated by how to create systemic
I actually
change.
studied revolutionary applied history in China in college and shit. Like,
That
I
shit's
know a lot about this.
Nifty as fuck,
Yeah,
that
man.
whole era. But like, I'm fascinated on how to create systemic change at a macro level. It's so boring to learn about. But like, I used to be a lot angrier and a lot more direct and a lot more insulty, and it got me nowhere. And then I will vividly remember this one guy who was like, "Bro, you're absolutely right, but you insulted me so many times. Like, why? Why did you do that?" And I had to like really think about what he said. And then my girlfriend was like, "You're a shithead," for years, and she was probably right. I don't think I'm a shithead anymore like I used to be. But she was right. I used to be an antagonistic little fucking shit. It would be like, yo, bro, you said some shit that goes against my political beliefs. Fuck you. And trust, I would have caught Facebook bans back in the days and shit. So I unfortunately was like that at work. And that was starting to get like problematic because my salary went up. And as your salary goes up, your behavioral expectations change in a big way if you want it to like keep going up. And then my boss, and I'm so grateful for this, basically spent 5 years turning late 20s angry shithead me into I can lie through my fucking teeth like a politician me. And that's just what it is. So like, I know how to say everything without cussing. I know how to like argue with some people you may be thinking of and not actually end up in the same place that most of you do on semantics, because it's kind of stuff that I do for work and shit, like PR, reputation management. And so you learn a lot about finesse. And activism to me, like, yo, it's one thing to change a guy on Facebook's mind. It's another thing to change a rich guy's mind. So I started thinking about that. How do you actually change the mind of somebody that doesn't see people as people? That's when it got really different. And I'm like, well, I got to up my stature in life and shit and understand data better, because the entire world's data centric. It's less political centric. You're right. And all these politicians pay data analysis firms to know way more than they're supposed to, and the level of susceptibility on interneting is fucking weird right now. I don't know. It's a scary time, but I also find that there's an age curve on it where the younger you go, the wiser they get. And that is beautiful to me. The fact that like a bunch of young internet savvy people don't believe the bullshit, and it's a bunch of old people arguing on Facebook, is also just like the most I can sleep at night shit forever, because the young people's gonna have our backs and they're gonna fix shit. They're gonna like approach problems with such dynamic brains that like stuff we failed to do for decades is gonna be easy to them. And I just know that in my bottom of my heart, and I'm just so comfortable knowing that they're cooler than us. And it's just the most comforting shit. Like, but you look at old people.
I suppose the younger generations are getting, I guess like the younger generations are becoming more and more progressive over the years.
But it's not
becoming more and more.
I mean, it's not even just Canada or the States. It's like when I went
to the world over. The world over.
So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
Because I feel like the world, the younger generations, like even let's take us millennials, for example, in contrast to our parents' generations, like the boomers, when society was a bit more segregated. You know what I mean? Just for example, for an extreme example. And I don't mean just like black and white. I mean like even like Catholics and Protestants, French and English, shit like that. And like there was a lot more segregation. There was a lot more people sticking into their communities or whatever. You flash forward 30 years, 40 years, you have us millennials who were born in the 80s and 90s who grew up around different and started to associate ourselves and identify with all kinds of different people. And we start to see life in a different way. So if we flash forward to the generation who are being born now and the younger generations who are upcoming and shit like that, it kind of makes sense to me that the more and more, you're right, the younger generations are going to
Well, it's
I
like,
guess, see the world in a more broad perspective.
and even take like language issues. You're gonna tell me that little French kids up in the middle of nowhere, Quebec, ain't all up on English culture just on the internet being available now? You know, like the
Yeah,
internet's
yeah.
finally there. That's a big statement because 10 years ago there might not have been internet in a lot of these places type thing. And like, who the fuck can't speak French under the age of 25? Like, unless you just got here and you never had a reason to, everybody's fucking bilingual at a certain age. That and the youth, because
Yeah.
they're like, yo, fuck that. I want to make money in this
But
province.
there are some people our age and a little bit older than ourselves, or much older than ourselves, who grew up in a time when you didn't chill with other people who spoke other languages.
Huge facts.
And that created a bias for you. And as an adult, even though you know better as an adult, you still have this little bias in your head that makes it hard to want to learn French, learn English, learn whatever the fuck. You know, I was lucky. Like, I remember being 11, 12 and fighting with, we were the Irish kids and then there was the French kids and we would fight in the laneways and all this dumb shit, right? And by the time we were 19, we were all chilling on the bleachers together. You know what I mean? At the courts, everybody was chilling together.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie.
It took a while, but that whole little the whole them versus us complex begins to break down. You know?
Yeah, for me it was Tinder. I started trying to date French girls, and they said my accent was cute, and I'm like, oh, say a fucking word. Moi, je parle français maintenant. My accent's trash. I speak French pretty fucking fluently. But it's also like you go to work and you realize like it's just like easier sometimes. Or, like, you'll be in a presentation and if you don't understand French and you see the look on the person's face when they have to do it in English and shit, you're like, yo, but when you're like, yo, moi je comprends, c'est correct, like they just let you, they run it, like it's just like politically speaking, yo, you can't make money in this province proper without like speaking French because you're never going to be friends with the right people.
Yeah.
And it's more important that your boss wants to play golf.
And that's something I'm willing to accept. And that's something I've accepted pretty much my entire life. That like, yeah, like French is the main language here. And that's more like what it is.
My parents.
It's part of our identity here. And that's cool, whatever. And I can speak French relatively well.
But I think more like my parents will never speak French at an adequate enough level. Like, that's just facts. Like, they're fucking in their 50s. How the fuck are they going to start speaking French proper because Quebec said so? And where the fuck are they going to go, too? That's the other part. Like, you can just leave and go where? They don't make money.
So there should be an aspect of Quebecois society that actually does appeal to the Anglophone community because we've been here the whole time.
Well, I would argue it's not Quebecois society that I'm attracted to. It is just Montreal. I am not really that loyal to Quebec. I'm loyal to Montreal. That's my home.
I just mean in like in a socio-political identity kind of way. That, you know what I mean? That if you're a Quebecois citizen, you have to speak French, right? But the fact is, sorry, switch back. The fact is, there's been Anglo-speaking people here. You know what I mean? Since white folks have been here. You know what I mean? Since colonialization.
It was Anglo until what? Honestly, it was the mid '90s when they like won, and then it got really French. And then honestly, it wasn't that French at first, dude. It wasn't that French.
Well, no, it absolutely was. It just what was going to happen was the 90s. It happened before the 90s, but it happened almost.
I'm saying when the referendum happened, the exodus happened.
Yeah, so you're talking more about separatism.
What I'm talking about is population shifts. So up until 95, there wasn't the great exodus of English motherfuckers that happens when all the business capital shift over. And at that moment, Toronto becomes way more important if you speak English. And there's as a cultural center, artists start going there. Everybody starts going there. The hub of Anglophones start going there. And then since then, dude, right away, we didn't feel it. Coast St. Luc was still mad English and shit, you know, where I was at. Coast St. Luc is not mad English no more. It took a while. It took a while for like places like NDG to really start getting Frenchified and shit like that. But nowadays, man, bro, it's like it's not like NDG isn't stupidly English still, because it really is. But like you can see at like an institution level, like when you try to do your vaccination shit on the fucking internet and it's fucking hard to make it load in English, and even though you loaded it in English, not all the web fields are in English, because fuck you speak English. And that's
I guess sometimes it gets that rough.
And then it's like, yo, I mean, it's like the fucking vaccination shit. Translate the fucking web form, my guy. And it was one field that just really bothered me because I noticed shit like that. And like, yeah, it just freaks me out, man. It's gonna freak me out the day that like I'm in real big pain and I gotta go to a hospital and have some French motherfucker speaking French at me, and I'm just not ready for it. Because, I'm not sure that I can handle French in extreme moments when I need to be thinking clearly, kind of things.
Well, you do your best. And also on his end, he should know, especially if he's working with the public, to some extent.
But they don't have to anymore. And
language.
That's facts already.
I know, but I just feel like, a lot of this would be erased if we all spoke our second language and accepted our second language. But I do feel like
when
you're
it comes
right
to
about
like
that
medical
there's kind of
shit,
a target on the Anglo community.
Here's the thing, man. I speak French pretty fucking good. I don't know that I really want to deal with medical, legal, or governmental shit in French exclusively, because it's just like the entire time I'd be having a conversation, I'd be in like a state of stress, as like it matters, and I don't know that I understand everything. And I don't know French jargon.
Not if you learned French enough that you were comfortable enough with it. You know what I mean?
I know basic shit. I don't know terms. Like jargon is where it gets hard, right? Like it's when you have to know specific.
I mean, like
shit.
the more I find it's less about trying to learn it in like a classroom setting or whatever the case, and it's more about actually like speaking to people that speak a different language.
Oh, nobody talks about government shit in French.
I mean, like, look, in terms of French, working in kitchens, like in a gay village in old Montreal and shit, where like more than half of the staff is French speaking. I had to learn all of the terminologies for all the kitchen stuff, for all of the food and all the equipment and shit like that, on top of like you said, the jargon and the little expressions and shit like that. And that's what helped me develop my French a little bit more. The more you hang around with people that speak other languages, the more it spills over into you. When I was a kid, I used to chill with a kid that lived in my dad's building, and his parents were from South America. One was from Bolivia, the other was from Costa Rica. Anyways, so I used to hang out with this kid who spoke 3 languages, and he would help me speak French, obviously, but I would actually pick up some Spanish, and still to this day, like, hablo español just a little tiny bit.
Me too.
No, I'm kidding. Like, not all that much, but
I'm all right with conversational. I'll do business in French. I'll fucking freestyle in French. We're talking about medical shit. We're talking about legalese. We're talking about shit one missing. Yo, bro, if I'm in the hospital and the guy's like, "Are you allergic?" and I misunderstand the word "Are you allergic?" I could die, kind of thing. That's scary to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I can just pick up enough.
I think that's an extreme example though, because I think most people that work in hospitals can understand, at least if it's life or death situation, they can understand communicatively their second language.
Totally,
you know what I mean?
For now. That's the thing is, we're talking about for now, but, in 1995, we couldn't have predicted what could have happened now, and the government is absolutely stacking shit to, like, assimilate even further and heavier. They do shit where they gerrymander fucking districts so there's less English representation in Montreal. They took away a district in Outremont in the last 5 years. Like, shit like that happens. So it's like, I don't know, dude, I'm skeptical about the government's willingness to comply. Like, Montreal just said, fuck it, we comply, Legault. I'm like, oh, that's what it is. I guess that's what it is, right? And then Legault's going to probably win again, because why would he fucking lose? The rural people love him. So that's like bad news bears for Montreal. And it's like, yo, this shit's starting to freak me out. Like, because like the rest of the world is doing creepy shit. Why wouldn't it happen here? That's just ignorant to assume it wouldn't happen here. Therefore, my activism type has me having this conversation, even if motherfuckers don't want to watch it. Activism. No, I really care about this shit. I really feel like with my platform, like, what am I doing if I'm not trying to create change? Since time, to varying degrees of success.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the very least, if people can think about it more, and if people know that, like, I give a fuck about language politics, and we can make that a real issue that people care about, like, we should. Only 14% of Montreal is English. That's a minority metric if I ever fucking heard it. And, like, yo, I mean, it scares the shit out of me in ways that you get scared of, like, memes. That the government scares me the way memes scare you, or the way people argue and memes scare you. So that's what freaks me the fuck out and makes me feel like, nah, I gotta do something here. I don't know what I can do, mais je peux faire la même chose en français si je dois. Alors moi, je pense que j'ai le droit de parler à tous les issues parce que je fais l'effort pour apprendre la langue du Québec. You know what I mean? Like, it's important, I think, to speak French. I'm not going to take that away from nobody. I just think that, like, it's whack shit to just suppress English targeted, like, because it's not an assault on all languages. It's not really equal. It's more like attack that one language.
Yeah, I feel.
Anyway, I know that was like a somber tone. I just got real into it. You were like, I want to be a fucking activist. I'm like, well, motherfucker, let's tango in activism land. I don't know, but
No, it's just a thought. It's really just a thought at the moment. I mean, like, I don't want to be on here on a public platform saying that I'm going to get involved in activism, but what I'm saying is, I talk a lot of what. Yeah, I guess I talk a lot of shit online. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
I try to do a lot of that local awareness kind of shit on my. Pardon me?
We all talk shit online.
Yeah, for sure. I have lost my temper one or two times, and whatever, for better or worse. But what I try to do is I just try to talk about the shit. I try to change minds where I can. You know what I mean?
It's always about the how.
Even just like, so, I don't know. I just feel like sitting here doing all that shit for a super long time. It's like I feel like a douchebag because I'm not actually doing anything. I'm chastising people on Facebook, and it's not super productive. It's not nothing, but it really might as well be nothing in this day and shit talk online. You know what I mean? So that's why that's all I was saying, was that, like, I'm thinking about it maybe in a different time in my life when I have things more like something I'd like to talk more about is the cafe. So let's go back to that in a second. But when the cafe does open, when life starts to become a little bit more normal for me, life has a little bit more direction, a little bit more normalcy for me. I'm going to have to figure out where life is going to take me in the next 10 years, because I just turned 30 and I don't want to be 40 years old with absolutely nothing and no fucking idea what I'm doing with my life. You know what I mean? I was born into that shit, and I won't allow that for myself in the future.
Yeah, I'm with you, my guy. I relate to that heavy.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm looking forward to the cafe. That's why I'm really looking forward to that cafe opening.
Also, just because you say activism doesn't imply that you're going to be this radical activist that nobody should fuck with.
No. No, like I fucking on Canada Day, I went and marched with the people from what was it? Fucking the statue at Mount Royal or whatever on Park Avenue to Dorchester Square, to where the Johnny McDonald statue used to be. And just doing that, like, I haven't done anything in a protest or a march or anything like that in a long time. I've worked with Rap Battles for Social Justice a few times. Great people, great organization. I'm like, that just, to me, that's like very minimal, little bit of activism I've taken part in. And every time it's just been fun. And it feels good doing it. And it's like, it may not achieve very much in the moment, but it just, I don't know, it feels better than shit talking online. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like
that's what I mean by activism. More things like that. Getting more involved in community activism, for example.
I hear you, man. Like, I mean, I hear you, because I used to shit talk a lot online, and now I don't have to. I really don't feel the need to shit talk online mostly. I mean, I have my moments where I like to goof. I like to have some goofs on the internet. But
yeah,
in general, it's like, for a long time I've tried to use my platform as a vessel for change. I don't know if activism is the right word. I suppose you could label me in some regards an activist. I do care. I wore an orange shirt. That was honestly just because, on Canada Day, I was streaming live, and I said, listen, I'm not really one to do this shit, but I get the feeling if I don't wear the orange shirt, that's going to send the wrong fucking signal to a lot of people I fuck with. And so I wore the shirt, and I said that seemed like a good time to, like, do the thing. Because I'm not really a profile picture person, whatever. I'm more likely to, like, fucking write a song about that shit and fucking talk about it on 74 podcasts. Like, that's my steez.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, I'll go, like, right up to rich people and speak my mind, too. Like, I'm not afraid to, like, take it to people that aren't expecting it.
Oh, for sure.
But in person, I don't like to do it on the internet. Nobody listens on the internet the way they do in person.
Exactly. Actually, man, I'm telling you, that day, that march, I saw a few things that were just, it showed me that Canada there's this, you know what I mean?
The internet's not real.
There's hope for people. Huh?
You just gotta remember it all the time. The internet's not real life. It's a fraction of a fraction. Most people on the internet are lurkers. They don't interact. So it's like what we see is all the people that are down to put up with social media at 10 years deep. bro, that's who's talking right now. That's a select few people, you know. You just gotta remember, it's not everybody. What you saw in real life, that's probably more what real life is, because
Yeah.
it's still not everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Real life.
But that's it. Walking there, taking that walk with those people, man. It's like there's a couple of moments that were just like, wow. And it felt a lot better than sitting in my living room on my computer, you know what I mean? Even though my intentions or whatever. Just being there, I didn't even do shit. I just walked with these people, you know what I mean? And there was thousands of people there. There was just a few moments that just really encapsulated what was trying to be done there and shit like that. That to me is like a good, honest, small example of like community activism that does make a change, because it makes a change in the local hearts and minds of people to look at each other in a more of a accepting light, I guess.
Nah, I'm gonna put it different.
I saw this. There was this moment, man. It was this
love.
old First Nations dude. There was this old First Nations dude sitting there, and he was watching us go by. And I saw like the whitest, nerdiest white dude walking by with a sign and, you know, the shirt and all this. And he just stared at this dude with his fist up, as if like to say like, "Thank you for doing this," basically. And there was a bunch of little moments like that, you know what I mean, as well as the speeches and the shit like that. That
honestly, man,
that's the kind of shit that made me want to get back into it.
That's love, right? That's what I call
real
it.
Shit happening.
It's love.
Exactly. And it's not based in ego, or it's not based in ego all over the internet and shit like that. It's based in, like you said, it's love. It's actual community.
But that's the thing, is where the internet is really bad at showing you love. It's really hard to even tell the internet you want love unless you like cats, and that's not love. That's weird. No, my girlfriend gets weird ass fucking animal videos, bro. Like, they know what she wants, like it's crack cocaine, and they fucking feed it to her, and then she gets me to watch this weird shit, and the next thing you know, you know how you said you got like a lot of random Facebook solicitation? I personally do too, but I got the strangest one today, and it happened today. Guy adds me to Facebook, a bunch of rapper mutual friends, and he sends me 2 cat videos. And I'm like, what? Just this little baby cat getting fed. I'm like, I don't know if he meant to do this on purpose, if it was by accident, but I've never.
Now that I have your attention, check out my new video.
But that never came. It was just 2
2
cat videos. I'm like, this is too weird. I'm not answering this. That's staying on red. But yeah. So social media is not good at real life. And then I realized like the DM, like, COVID made me realize like work was a negative environment for me because I didn't necessarily fit in, and I feel like gossip is a very prevalent thing in that environment, and I'm like, it affects you when you're in a lot of gossip pools. And then all of a sudden I'm by myself and like with my girlfriend and shit, but like what really changed is the access of people into my life, right? So all of a sudden the only people I talked to are people I really wanted to talk to. And I just cut out all the negative shit, and there was a lot more love in my life than I ever realized, because I was so fixated. I know it's all corny, but I was so fixated on the hate. I never saw the love. And then now that I've seen the love, bro, it's like I can't unsee how many people give a shit about me. So yeah, sometimes I have moments. There are certain people if I could, I would. But like, at the end of the day, like, yo, motherfuckers. And it's so strange, but they'll just tag me in a Facebook post being like, Holden's the guy. And I'm like, yo, I can't be like, I mean, come on. But then it's like, even with that, like, I realized that when I would argue with pure passion and vigilance to try to make points with certain people, it would like get me nowhere. But then when I changed my approaches entirely and I went really calm or more docile, I stopped swearing. I never insult people. That's the one mistake y'all do to get Facebook jail. Y'all just insult people willy-nilly. Like, you're of it. Just if you say the word you're delete that sentence. You won't go to Facebook jail anymore. That's like my
honestly, I'm guilty of that. I've got a fucking temper, bro, and I'm an idiot sometimes. I'll let my emotions get the best of me.
It's not just you.
But that's on me.
It's like a whole half my Facebook is in Facebook jail half the time, and we're like. It's like, it's weird. I'm like, I never caught a ban one time, so I can get away with murder on Facebook right now, because the second you catch a ban, it's like real life. It's over. The parole officer's watching you and shit.
I caught a few during BLM. I mean, like last year during the whole George Floyd thing, man, there was a few things where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna say this now, and then I got banned for saying the things that I said. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I see certain things in the world, and I'm like, how fucking dare you? And then like, I feel like it's my place to go and I don't know,
So
man. I don't know.
it's all about the how, right?
It is a weakness. It's a weakness.
It's also about, so like this shit is like seed planting, right? Like if you ever want to take on a person, you have to go a little more art of war with it, a little bit more data gathering. You have to understand the person you're talking to. So sometimes we go confrontational with a person, and it's like we do that based on what would work with us. Maybe that's what you feel would be the most like on that golden rule shit. Do what whatever. I want to go do the debate thing or whatever, but it's often not the right approach. The best approach is to...
See, that's my thing, is I don't even mean to get locked into these debates.
But when you have that feeling, just say it all in a way where you delete the words "your" every single time you write the words "your." Just try it like that. Just never write the words "your."
But even the debating without the insulting and shit like that, I find myself like, why the fuck am I doing this? This is pointless. This is pointless. And what I've been doing, I find is much more useful to me, is when I feel like I have something that's worth saying on Facebook, I just pull out my fucking pad and I write that shit down. You know what I mean? I don't write a rap or anything necessarily, but like I just write shit. You know what I mean? It's much more useful to write these ideas for myself for later use rather than putting them on Facebook to be fucking, you know what I mean? To be picked apart and judged and thrown back in my face by whom the fuck ever. You know what I mean?
All about the delivery. I found there was value in learning how to do it. So like if you ever want to practice, trust Facebook's a useful place to learn how to express an idea. Because the second you can get to a point where people aren't twisting your shit in your face, you have officially politicked that idea into usefulness. When you can get people to just be like, I see your point, I hate this point, and you can be like, yeah, I see your point, I hate that point, we don't agree on this. This is facts though, you agree this is facts, yeah, I agree that's facts. It's almost like, I don't know, it's also recognizing when a person is into semantics and when a person is genuinely interested in change. Sometimes what happens is people are doing a thing for social media engagement because they're trying to sell you tickets to something in the future, or they're working on a project right now, so they share videos and they do things like that. What do you do in between? I chose, straight up, I tried it for a while. I started asking stupid ass questions about like what people want to do in their life. I just forgot. But like, you do some shit like that. You start looking at how can I say shit that will get the numbers I'm trying to achieve in terms of engagement for XYZ reason. And then you're not posting because you want, like I'm not saying for myself, but it gets to a point where you're not really posting for the sake of giving a shit what anyone's thinking. You're posting just to get motherfuckers to say dumb shit on your shit, so you look like a gangster when you come in and slay the demons and shit. Because it's all ecosystems, because the fuckers you're impressing are your clients, and thus that person is actually doing really amazing business because they make money on this. Yeah. And a lot of times we fall into traps because we don't know that that's what that person's doing. So we come at it different. Versus there are times when it's actual ignorance, and it's sometimes worth it to have the conversations.
No doubt. And that's part of the struggle too, is picking when to engage in a polite or even an otherwise heated debate, and otherwise not to like get involved in what is obviously just a cry for attention or just you know what I mean, or even just people just trying to stir up controversy, or even like why are you gonna have this whole debate with somebody that obviously sees the shit completely differently than you do? You're both gonna go back and forth and get frustrated with each other, but neither of you at the end of the day is going to change your minds about it. You know what I mean?
I have a good answer for you. So, if you're an entertainer, if your goal
is sure.
No, I'm not even playing. I did this like lunch and learn at work.
I mean, just in this. I mean, strictly in the sense of talking to people on social media.
Who the fuck is posting this type of shit?
You're not going to minds on your fucking comments. You know what I mean?
That's not the goal. That isn't the goal. The goal is never to change your mind. They don't give a shit about you. Dude, I don't actually give a fuck if people agree with me or not a lot of times. I gave that up a long time ago. What I want to know is what you think. So I'm going to do everything in my power in a lot of ways to make you talk as much as I possibly can. Because especially like if you're trying to get intelligence on a person, the more you make them say in a controlled way, the more powerful your situation and knowledge set becomes. But on top of that, we go back to entertainment. I brought up, so people like to tell me there's no such thing as an attention span no more. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. And I have two really valid arguments that people can't argue with. One is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That shit makes no sense if people have no attention spans. Way too many people spend way too much time focused on that shit, in my opinion. I'm not into it that much, but attention spans. The other is spicy Facebook debates. Come on, bro. That shit's entertaining as fuck when you're not involved. You just watch that shit play out. You're like, That's why people do it if you're an entertainer, because you want the eyes on your fucking name, because you're going to convert that into literal dollars in XYZ time.
That is so foreign to me.
Sorry?
That is so alien to me. That is so foreign to me.
I've watched you argue with people that are literally doing this.
Yeah, but to monetize myself, I've done it strictly out of ego. I've done it strictly out of because I feel like it's my place to have these conversations with these people, which is what I'm trying to say right now is at the end of the day, so fucking self-serving. You're not changing anybody's minds by having these debates. So at the end of the day, if you're doing it, especially if you're doing it to monetize yourself or draw attention to yourself to draw recognition for your brand or whatever the case, I don't know, like that's just so fucking far from my life, my reality, the way that I see the world. I just don't get that shit.
I feel
you know what I mean?
Huge learning curve.
I'll just be honest that like I get locked in these dumb debates with sometimes with people that I respect enough that we can have the debate and it doesn't go awry. But you know what I mean? When it does, well, it's on me, bro. It's for me and my ego and my temper. You know what I mean?
I guess what I was going with it is if you engage with people that aren't there for the same reasons as you, it becomes a bad thing. And it is a bit of a challenge, but you kind of have to be aware that some people are doing that shit. Like, that's a real thing that happens.
And you have to be able to speak to people who, it's so rare to find someone, to have a conversation with someone, and for anyone to at some point in the conversation say, I didn't ever think of it like that. You know what I mean? To actually make somebody think of something differently.
Bro,
how fucking rare, how seldomly does this ever happen?
I built my brand on what you just described. I built my brand on being the guy that will admit he's wrong and change his mind live on cam and shit. So yeah, trust, I know what you're saying, because it's kind of like allowing me to grow.
If more people were able to do that shit and say, you know what, maybe I'm wrong about this, or at least to say like, yo, I didn't think of it like that. I kind of see it from your point of view.
I don't know.
A little bit
more.
Mean,
I take a few things with it. I got privileged with the political education by accident at work on some circumstances that most people I know, especially in the art world, just never got to experience. So, like, it's hard for me to fully appreciate it because I realize all the things I had to learn and privilege-driven. Dude, my last name is Roy, okay? I did have a slightly easier fucking time in this place. And, like, I got to this point where, like, I'm getting these, like, you know, real advice points from, like, actual mentors and shit and, like, corporate navigation and, like, how to express my ideas in ways that, like, I can do this. And it wasn't, like, some simple shit. We're talking years of losing out on promotional, like money at work, bosses being like, bro, it can't be like this no more. Okay, Holden, we're going to have a chat about how you had that conversation with this guy and literally because he's your boss, what are you going to do? You want, you know, and then, so like, I don't think many people did that, right? And so like, I learned how to do it because of that process. And how do you convince people to go through that process of self-reflection? Whew, we're talking about some big changes that a lot of people would have to start going through. But it's really going to take forever. And that's the other part of it, is that it takes years. Like, let's say everyone agrees, we're going to do it today. Bro, it's going to be 5 years before anybody's even half decent at it. So that's the other part of it, is that patience that, like, we all also need to develop as the world wants to evolve. Because even some of these people, maybe they want to evolve. They just don't know how yet. You know, like, It's like a Pokemon. It's like when the Charmeleon was having a bad time in Pokemon before it was able to become a Charizard. I don't know if you know what I mean, but I was really into that shit for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the Hip Hop Cafe because I know you want to go there and you want to discuss that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to that.
So let's get a.
You had Olivier on the show recently, right?
Yeah, the last I heard, he's basically trying to get a spot, and he was killing it for a grant. And he said, "Holden, if you're not willing to be sleep deprived and physically fucking sick with a stuffy nose as a rapper, come on, Olivier, I rap. I can't have a stuffy nose." Hear that? That's what sleep deprivation did to me. Anyway, but basically it was like, bro, if you don't want it bad enough, fuck you. You're not hungry enough. You don't believe in yourself. And his interview was the most I would say of the value I gained, his is the highest value I've gained out of all interviews because he showed me that Quebec really does have low self-esteem, and he's fucking right. And people do not believe in themselves.
Olivier is an extremely wise, really chill, really cool dude. But he's like very wise. I find he's low key got a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. Yeah, actually, I caught most of that interview. But I had to make sure I did.
Yeah.
So what has he told you about the cafe so far? I mean, like, has he told you anything about what he plans to do with it?
Alcohol, restaurant. Jay DaVille is going to be the chef at it. I said, oh, well, if that's the case, Jay DaVille's got to come on the show. Hey, Jay DaVille, want to be on the show? And then he was like, well, I need a location. I want it to be the old concept, but like better. And the reason it wasn't better the last time, and then mostly we talked about that. So I guess we're going to go into what his original vision was going to be. But as far as you and all that, I mean, I don't really remember if he explained in detail how you guys got connected. I don't know, man. That was it was a 5-hour fucking interview.
He reached out to me a little over 2 years ago and told me about his plan to reopen Hip Hop Cafe.
Okay. And
I was obviously extremely excited. And I had known him for about a year or something, maybe a year and a half at this point, whatever. We met at several shows, whatever. And he reaches out to me and he says, hey man, how do you feel about this? And he brings up being the chef there. And I was like, holy shit. Like that's huge for me. You know what I mean? And it all seemed kind of abstract for a little while because we didn't speak about it for very, very much there. But I've actually compiled, I think 3 or 4 different drafts of the menu that I proposed to him. Over the months and years, and I've been super excited about this for a very long time. Basically, he wanted to look for, I guess, somebody that had not only the kitchen experience, but would be excited to jump on a project like this because of my involvement with the hip hop community and all that too. So obviously, I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" I mean, like, obviously. Like I had other things going on at that point in my life. I had just started a new job and all that. And he was like, yes, this is going to be in a little while. Obviously COVID happened, that impeded everything. But I've actually sat down and created, I think, 3 or 4 different menus that I proposed to him that we can do there. And the final one that I've drawn up, we agreed on. Basically, he likes it, and I think that I'm going to be making this food. Basically, the food I'm going to be making is it's going to be a lot of flavors. It's going to be a lot of like humble food made well. Yeah, I don't want to give away too much. You know what I mean about the menu and its contents right now.
That's fair, because then you're like, Olivier may not be thrilled with this, or you may change it. And
I may change. I don't think I will at this point. I think the menu that I've come up with at this point is like it's solid.
So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck humble is. I don't know what that means. That sounds like foodie words. I'm like, fair enough, my guy. I'm certain there are people though that are picturing what you said and they're like, bro, I get you. And I'm like,
well, I actually have like some people follow me a lot more for my food porn than they have for my music over the years. You know what I mean? Working in kitchens and getting the opportunity. The opportunity to like fuck around with food and create my own shit and Instagram at the same time gave me a little bit of a, you know what I mean?
Honestly,
an opportunity to show off other shit that I do. So a lot of people know me for my food porn. And if you've seen anything from me that you like, what you're gonna get at Hip Hop Cafe will be like that, but threefold. It's going to be exponentially better because I'll have the equipment and I will have everything I need and I'll have it down to a science. And you'll love it.
I'm not worried about loving it or not. I'm gonna eat it and I'm gonna be like, that's food I did not make myself. It is delicious and wonderful, and I'm pretty fucking into the idea of eating your food. I'm not even gonna lie. But I also think that you're not even the only one that like got into this food porn shit. There are quite a few people I know that like it wasn't what they did that caught my attention. It was their food porn, and the biggest one of that is the homeboy Peter West.
Ridiculous. Pete West, yeah.
Nah,
and he makes great food too. Have you ever had anything?
No.
Anything from him?
Which is, I mean, at this point, Peter West and I are pretty good buddies. We sometimes have little voice sessions and shit. Never met the motherfucker in real life. He lives in the South Shore, and I live in Montreal without a car, and he's busy. And I don't know.
Buddy, I went and actually jumped on the metro to go meet dude at Longueuil to bring me some patties because I'm a slut for patties, and you know that's my dude.
That's like, I want the patties. I don't want the fucking patties with that kind of time commitment. No offense, Peter West. That would have happened otherwise.
Hey man, I mean, for me, anyways, it took me 20 minutes to get to Longueuil Metro, 25 minutes to get to Longueuil Metro, so it's not a big deal.
It would not take me 25 minutes to get there. It would take me. Anyway, it would be a significant length of time. And then,
you're Verdun now, right?
I'm in NEG, and I'm like fucking by Code St. Luke's too. Actually, I need to meet the guy.
Yeah.
Because the motherfucker and I have an album coming, and this motherfucker, I want him in this motherfucking music video. Because I'm like, how am I supposed to go do this track with you, and you're not going to show up and be in the video? I just need him to stand there. Literally for an hour for like 2 shots. Hey. And that's all I need. And then
little known fact, Peter West showed up for one of my video shoots of the 2 music videos I have in my entire career. Yeah, for the music video for Who Are We, there's a scene where there's a whole bunch of us. And most of Top Notch Tracks is there. And Peter West fucking showed up. This was the first time I met him. He's just kind of chilling there with his glasses on, sitting in the background. But yeah, if I can get him in 2012 to make a cameo appearance in a video of mine, then I don't see why he shouldn't appear in one of yours.
Because he's fucking busy.
I go, that's true.
That's the answer to everyone's question. It's like, bro. Anyway, but I'm more like, dude, the song's nearly done. We need to get the video. Because I can't release shit if I can't get you in the video. And I'm not going to do it. If he won't. So anyway. It has to be an NDG. That's the other part. Because I'm not going to fucking shoot some shit in long. What the fuck does elongated mean? You know, I don't mean shit to me. It's got to be an NDG. Like, I don't even know what it looks like. Bro, I don't know what. You asked me about the South Shore, and it's like a fucking fog. I've been there. I know there are places. I know there's a little scratch. I know it's near the.
There was a little scratch.
Okay, there was. I'm pretty sure there was a Krispy Kremes or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's still there.
But like, end of the day,
my
bro.
My parents are from there. Like, well, my dad still lives there, so I gotta go by there once in a while.
But like, I literally had to go to the South Shore once in the last decade. Really had to, and it was to return my fucking modem to E-Box. And I was like, "You're making me go to the yellow line, like and pass around." And it was the first time in my fucking life, like, I ever gone there. Because why am I going to the South Shore? Like, to me, like, and then I realized Duscad's down there. And now I'm like, well, fucking Duscad's going to be doing shit down there. I'm going to want to go. But, like, in general, it's like, I don't know why. Like, I just, man, there's, you know how many places in Montreal I've discovered now that I'm cycling around that are cool that I just never been to? You're finding bike paths and shit. You're like, this has been here my whole fucking life. This place is big, man. But I'm like,
since I moved uptown, I've discovered, like, have you ever seen the fucking woods and the lookout in Westmount? What's it called? The Summit Woods and like the Summit Lookout or whatever in Westmount. It's ridiculous. It's like there's a bunch of like super rich houses at the very top of, like, I guess Côte des Neiges, what becomes Westmount. There's a big forest, which is pretty trippy. And then at the bottom of the forest, there's like a lookout that looks over the whole like kind of southwestern part of the city that I never knew existed. It was obviously the one, you know, by Park Extension where you can look over the east side of the city that everybody knows about. But this was a different one, and it's like a 30-minute walk from my fucking doorstep.
Bro, I'm gonna shoot a video there. I'm gonna get Peter West to show up there. No, it says temporarily closed on Google Maps. I don't want to break in and get caught on video with Peter West. He won't like me then. But no, that's really dope. But that's what I mean. Like, there's so much dope shit like that. And I don't know how I got on there, but that's why I guess now my attitude's different is what I was trying to say. Before I didn't give a fuck, but I still want my music videos to be in NDG because, I'm just trying to rep NDG right now. That's where we at. 166,000 people. Yeah, we should probably focus on trying to build a little community. There's probably a good 5,000 that would put dollars into us if there's that many people up inside this borough. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just basic math of this shit. That's a reasonable percentage. I'm just trying to emphasize that for whoever may end up watching this that knows you and will be like, yo, I watched the Jay DaVille one. I know y'all are selective with the ones you watch, motherfuckers. I'm aware because you all tell me. Yeah, Meticulous does do food porn too. Yeah, food porn's cool. I think your menu's going to be dope. I think people are going to appreciate it. I'm excited at the idea of you returning to rap and shit. You should show up in the park with us then.
Yes, actually, well, can you remind me when?
We don't have a next date picked. We don't have a date picked. Okay. It's more of I realized that nobody's ever going to be able to play nice with the schedule with the little core group, so I just need to get a bigger group of people and run it like that and figure out who the fuck comes down, because otherwise I'm not going to have what I want with the park thing. Oh, wow.
Okay.
So, idea is to, like, randomly show up at places and rap songs. I don't care as much about freestyling as much as I care about songs. People can freestyle whatever, but I want to film people stream live performing songs in parks, because then I don't think we're cool enough to have to worry about permits, but I also realized I was being too paranoid and we can run Facebook events. So that's bless.
Dude, that's amazing. I'm actually super down. Let me know, because I've got my USB full of my songs ready to go.
No, you're gonna have to come you're gonna email that to whoever DJ person is, and we're gonna run it bad, like, because it can't be too good. If it's too good, 5-0's come.
Okay.
It's weird.
It'll be fun.
It's like we have to toe the line. I don't know how to do it yet. The tech sounded shit on the live. The live, though, is not really about a good show. It's more to be like, we're in this park. Fuck you, you're not in the park with us. That's my intention with the live. It isn't about sounding amazing. I want the live in person to sound good enough for the people there. Anyway, that kind of shit. That's where I'm at with that. That's dope.
Yeah, let me know about that. That sounds actually like super fun.
I'll figure it out soon. My life got like stupidly busy the last 2 weeks, but now that I'm on the tail end of the stupidly busy, I'm like able to think again, and that's fun. It's nice to think again. But yo, I really do look forward to your music. When do you see yourself going back to the stew in general? Do you have any kind of a timeline on that?
I'd be lying if I said anything definitive.
Respect.
To be completely honest. But you're not the only one that's telling me this. And I think about it every fucking day, dude. And I gotta break out of my cycle of second guessing myself and my cynicism and just fucking create again. And I'm sure once I do that, I'm gonna feel a lot better about it and actually feel motivated to write new music and all that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Definitely. But hopefully in the next year, you know what I mean? You know what? Now you just telling me this is making me want to go and write a fucking song.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the right vibe.
Thank you for the love, by the way, bro. I do appreciate that.
I mean, to me, it's just really important to try to, like, look, there's only so many English people, and unfortunately for me, I'm not 20, and the 20-year-olds, as much as they respect me, do not want to hang out with me. Understandable.
Yeah, you probably don't want to hang out with them either.
No, I really do. I fucks with them. I fucks with young people. I want to find like 15, 20-year-olds I really like and have them. But I don't know that I want to fuck with all the 20-year-olds. But there's some of them that are super cool that I really do like hanging out with. And then they teach me about Instagram and TikTok and how to think. And I'm like, all right, I'm a more adequate young adult than I was as an old adult. And I find that it's actually really important. And then you like get to have this cool mentorship mentee kind of thing where they teach you about young dumb shit you forgot about, and you teach them how to not be as dumb. It's really a good reciprocal thing that I think a lot of people in their 30s should look into. Is find a 20-year-old or two you like. You're gonna fucking like your life more because they're gonna like help you see shit different.
Well, a couple of years ago, I went and I discovered a couple of younger artists coming up who even have told me they listened to my music when they were in high school and shit. And I was like, you're one of the 8,000 people that saw that video. That's cool, I guess. I know it's but
nah, it's big.
Years later, I end up meeting people like if you ever heard of Vishan or Shemji, guys like that who I ended up meeting who are like a little bit younger than myself, but extremely talented and hungry MCs. You know what I mean? Vishan's a crazy good rapper and super chill kid. And Shem, man, if you've ever heard of Shemji Shamar, he's multi-talented. He's extremely like his personality, bro. Anyway, there are younger people coming in the city who like made me feel like it made me feel like this is why I want to keep doing music because of this. You know what I mean? Because I was part of this community that helped one person to this person. Like just like when I was younger, I would look at people like CL, for example, you know, and we all become friends years later because we're all part of this community. Just the magic of that alone is kind of worth it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear that, man. Yeah, I appreciate you, Jay DaVille. I appreciate you coming through with this. I'm not 1,000% sure what to say to keep the conversation going at this point, which is usually where my brain's like, it's a good time to like end it. You pushed it long. We made up for any broken time. Trust, you got a good, lengthy, chunky one.
I'm sorry about the beginning about that, dude, by the way.
All good. Like I said, man, it's the live. It was a test of patience. There were a couple of times where if the Zoom was a person, I may have been tempted to slap a Zoom. But like, it's not you that the tech is being what it is. It's just the circumstances of a moment, and we roll with it or we don't. That's the in my opinion, the difference between the party and the fucking serious version, you know? Anyway, but I really appreciated having you.
Thank you for...
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, man, thank you for having me come and talk to you, bro. This is super chill. And I appreciate you doing this, trying to bridge the gap, you know what I mean? And bring the community closer together because we do need that.
You can't complain if you don't contribute to the solution is my general rule of life. So if I want to complain about politics, now I have to participate. But nah, thank all the live people too, because a bunch of people stuck through all of that, man. Like there was like 8 or 9 people that just like yo, Golden Jenny's still here. Golden Jenny sat through it and was even giving encouraging emotes and shit. So like shout out all the people who watched, all the people in the future who are gonna watch, all of you who do amazing, comment, like, subscribe, follow whatever platform you're on, Blably Bloops. Special thanks to the patrons, Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Patter, Jonathan Bryan, CJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams, Scribble Dope, support what we do, patreon.com/behind that suit if you want to be cool like that. And on that note, I'm gonna appreciate everybody again. Definitely live long and prosper, everybody.